All right, this is the November video chat. Uh, I guess no real new announcements since last time. I'm just been working on this side video and just lots of other miscellaneous things related to the videos. Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess two in a row, both Killing Time and Trick Style. I had different versions of the same problem. Let's see, is the camera a little crooked? Of the same problem, just in different forms, where I did all the work using proxy files, and when it came time to render the final edit, the timing was off. And it's possible I may have been doing this for years. So it's better now. I don't know what the problem was last time. I talked about that. This time I was recording in, was it HEVC, using the GPUs under Bandicam, so I guess that's X265 format. And the problem seems to be that I made the proxies using Handbrake. And even though it was also variable frame rate, and it had the exact same number of frames, it was just off. And when I loaded it in Premiere, what the problem ended up being was, what I ended up doing was just, I couldn't figure out a fix to it, but I was able to find some commands to fix the color transfer and Handbrake, because by default it's off. It shifts the color space. And then I just made basically super proxies. I had like a coding level of like 1 or something, so it was almost lossless from the originals. And then that worked, and I was able to render the Trick Style episode. So with FFmpeg, with some various commands, it seems like it behaves itself. So I'll stop using Handbrake to make proxies, is the lesson I learned from that. And yeah, I don't set it to variable frame rate by choice. That's just how it records with a lot of this screen capture software, where it's mostly 30 frames per second, but sometimes it's not, and then it's like 29.87 frames a second, just average. I'm not really sure what the value of variable frame rates are, except maybe if you had like a show, I don't know, something like Star Trek Next Generation, where like most of the footage is in 24 frames a second, like film, but then like the shots of the spaceships, the starships, those are in 30 frames per second or 29.97. So I guess for something like that, it would make sense. But beyond that, I don't know why things have variable frame rate. Okay, yeah, I guess I should start answering some questions. Yeah, somebody's asking about Twitter. I'll get to that at some point. I'll just go by the order. Oh yeah, here, let me arrange it by, if I can find the option. I'm not seeing the option. Okay. I was gonna arrange the questions by top voted, but I'm literally not even seeing the option now, so. Okay, we'll just go with whatever Reddit arranged it by. Oh, there it is. It's just, okay, so top, I guess, instead of best. All right. Yeah, the first question. Oh yeah, okay, so by the top, arranged by top, you mentioned once that you only make a game dungeon if you have something unique to say about a game. Has this ever led to you abandoning a game dungeon idea because during your research you discovered someone had already voiced your thoughts on a game? Not really, but Civ 11 had one where it made me I haven't decided to cancel it, but I said, yeah, I better put this in the back burner, because I didn't even finish his episode. It was good, it's just I was busy at the time. I was thinking, oh, he got to this game, huh? And I'm thinking, am I really gonna do a better job on this than he is? So it made me put it to the back burner. So I'll have to watch his episode and then see if I really have much more to say on it than he did. But I'm keeping it sort of surprised which one. So it wasn't Sin, obviously, because I felt like my take on Sin was very different from his. But like we were focusing on different things, but like he had good jokes in it. And so I'm gonna have to like think about if I want to cover that one. Let's see. Okay, next question. Did you hear about the passing of James Loxley, the actor who played the Admiral in, I never forget if it's Mabuse? I think it's Mabuse. It actually happened about a year ago. I think most of us missed it. I did not. To be honest, this is the sort of thing I don't really like to focus on too much. I mean, it's obviously sad if anyone, people care about die. So, I mean, I try not to like look behind the curtain too much when I'm making the videos unless something really motivates me to. And then even then, if it's, something like this, it might not be the sort of thing I want to bring up. But like with Game Dungeon and stuff like that, I kind of want the tone to be light for the most part, like so that you have a good time watching it. So focusing on real death is generally not a good time. So he obviously gave a memorable performance. I think some of the comments for like that ending, like where I tried to hit the button up, or I hit the wrong button, then the monster killed me. And it's just like the mission has failed. It's like soon they'll be dead. Soon everyone will be dead. Excuse me. Like some were saying that's like the best, like over the top ending of how you failed from just a single death they'd ever seen. So I mean, he had a pretty straight-laced performance, but it's like the context kind of made it come together. But yeah, that's always a risk. I admit, well, again, I still am trying to catch up on Twilight Zone, but the thought has crossed my mind that like if I'm watching Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone, catching up on the episodes. And if there's anyone even remotely old in there, I've thought like, yeah, I'm watching Ghosts. So, I mean, not everyone. William Shatner is in there. But, yeah, you have to figure anyone who's like real young, okay, they might be alive, but they're probably going to be real old. But like if there's anyone kind of old, it's like, nope, it's just too far. But yeah, again, not really the sort of thing I like to focus on. So okay, do you announce release dates for videos for yourself to have a deadline, or for your viewers? Oh, it's entirely for the viewers. So you'd think I would do a better job of not prematurely announcing it, but it's like when I do, it's like I really feel like I can get it done by that time, but it's mixed history with that. Like it's enough that actually I've heard some people have taken bets on me on my predictions versus when the video has come out, because I really have made it several times, but I've missed it, especially in the past few years, more than I wanted to. So it's just to try to like let people know, like, yeah, something's coming. Like, so that people, have something to look forward to. But I really need to steer away from that more, especially after Killing Time and Trick Style, where I both had technical errors I did not foresee whatsoever. So let's see. Yeah, I guess with other I guess with the previous question, with other actors, they're what? So sometimes they surprise me. Like I think it was in, like I forget the actor's name, but I think he was the bad guy in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But he was in the Wall Street sequel, like Wall Street Money Never Sleeps or something like that. And I think he was like in his 90s or over 100 or something, but he gave an okay performance. But I'm thinking, man, he is up there. I don't think I'd want to be acting if I was that old. But Uh, okay. Let's see. Have you heard the story of the Noble 14? They were 14 hardcore Halo 2 players who kept playing for weeks after the servers officially shut down. And they're saying, I think you could cite that as an outstanding example of lengths people will go to when preserving their favorite games. Yeah, like I didn't know about like their names specifically, but I had heard players kept playing Halo 2 after the multiplayer shut down because the way it was set up, it's like they were going to do it after the last player stopped. I mean, majority of companies just don't care. It's just like, all right, time's up, and then cuts the connection. So they were trying to keep it going. To me, it gives me mixed feelings because it's like they shouldn't even be put in that position in the first place. You know, I mean, though that is much more endemic for consoles. I mean, I guess the consolation is that you probably can play some form of Halo 2 multiplayer now, either with like the collection or some. Maybe you can even do it on PC. I'm not sure. I mean, if you wanted original Halo 2, I don't think you can do original Xbox Halo 2, but I mean, because sometimes the remakes don't have the same degree, but it's yeah. I mean that's my thought. It's like it would be impressive, but I feel like they shouldn't even be having to do that in the first place. It's ridiculous. Like I'm more impressed by the stuff that it's just something kind of hard to fathom from the game design. Like I'm thinking of that Final Fantasy, I think it was 11, one where these players went at this boss for like 15 hours or something. I mentioned it in my birthday video because that's just like that's more an impressive feat. They also shouldn't have to do that, but at that point you were kind of into like what's the word? Uncharted territory. With like, what exactly is this game doing? Like, so, yeah, I think that is unreasonable for those players also. But at the same time, it's like, well, we're Uncharted territory now for like, what is this game trying to do? So. Okay, somebody's mentioning a working Xbox emulator now. Yeah, but you'd also have to have the networking capability or the online capability emulated too and run that through an IP address or something. Maybe they do. There are impressive things happening in emulation right now. Yeah, going back to last chat, if you need something else, if there's anyone else with deep pockets testing out the new 4000 series cards, I have another benchmark for you. Apparently, was it Xenia? Xenia? An Xbox 360 emulator is making big strides. They had like in August, I think they had a big performance boost. And then there have been other hacks where some people even got it working in ultrawide. I clicked on this video clip where somebody had the original Red Dead Redemption running in ultrawide, and it looked pretty good, but I think in the video they had a 3090, and they also had a hack to unlock the frame rate, but they were only getting between like 30 and 40 frames per second. So, and it was, and they showed like where the load was distributed, and it was almost all on the GPU. So yeah, if you need something else to throw a bunch of GPU performance at, Xbox 360 emulation might be a good thing. Yeah, I mean, I really want to play the original Forza Horizon. So maybe someday. I figure if a 3090 is struggling, then my system's not going to be ready for it. I mean, it was a different game, but still. This is something to look forward to down the line. I there were a couple other Xbox 360 games I wanted to try out. Fable 2, that was one. I want to say there's a couple more I'm thinking of, but yeah, I'm impressed. Ultra wide and uncapped frame rate. That's impressive. Let's see. Yeah, shoot, I haven't checked. You might even be able to have stereoscopic working there, so you could have kind of a VR experience with that. I'm pretty sure that is doable with what is it, Wii and GameCube emulation. Maybe PlayStation 2. There's like this thread on that I bookmarked somewhere where they explain how to get stereoscopic rendering working on like all these different emulators. So. Did you hear that Patrician TV gave you a shout out in his 20-hour Skyrim video? Well, I saw this question and I browsed it a little bit. Yeah, yeah, it's a two-parter thing. Yeah, Skyrim, a quick retrospective, and yeah, it's like 20 hours total. So I'm afraid I'm not gonna watch that. If it was something I was incredibly interested in, I might watch a 20-hour video on it, but or if the presentation was really great. For what I'm looking for, he could have perfectly good presentation, but if it's not like what I'm looking for, like my first thought if I was gonna watch a Skyrim video, somebody did kind of a Freeman's Mind style version in Skyrim. Geez, I forget the name of it. It was something. It wasn't Meowcat, but he was playing the Khajiit character, and he had a funny style to him. So I wouldn't mind watching more of that. We had it on Gorilla Gong, but I forget the title. Punch Cat, maybe. Something like that. But I guess thanks for the shout out. I'm not sure what the context was. And I think he understands if I'm not going to watch a 20-hour video on it. There's only a few things I would do that on. It just depends. Like, well, I mentioned last time, like Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm sure I already have watched over 20 hours of that. But I would the fuzzier stuff. I would rewatch some of that because it's just that's a lot more entertainment value for me. But yeah, I seem to get a fair chunk of views for it. So hey, whatever works. If that could be the sort of thing where I can be like that. Well, I can be like that with some videos and some future ones too, where he may not even care how many views he gets. It's more like he has to make this. And I can understand that. And hey, if you are a huge Skyrim fan, then there's a lot for you there. So. Yeah, yeah, it is curious, like who the audience is for some of these like really long videos. Like with Game Dungeon, I feel like if I'm going over 40 minutes, then it's like, all right, I need to start wrapping it up, or just find places to kind of cut it down some more. I mean, I obviously don't with all of them, but that's up to around 40 minutes. I feel like it's starting to get maybe longer than I prefer. So. Give you more bang for your buck for the time that you're watching. But let's see. Okay, somebody's saying the voice actor for Kleiner seems like he was open to the idea of doing voice lines for fan projects as indicated here. Seems like you were planning on going a unique direction with the Kleiner character in Freeman's Mind. Have you considered emailing Harry Robbins, seeing if he was interested in doing any lines for you? Well, no, for a couple reasons. One, I don't really plan to change too much with Freeman's Mind. But that said, I had a couple of ideas in the past for civil protection that might involve Kleiner. So I guess if I ever get a loop back around to those, I could consider it. But I mean, I don't know if I could afford him either. So, because I mean, I imagine he's a full gilded actor and everything. I think at my level, I'd rather aim for someone who sounds pretty close. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, for civil protection, sure. I mean, something where I'm creating a new unique plot line. I have one or two where I thought I have Kleiner, but also Barney. Though I'll tell you what, I have a loose contact with the voice actor from Black Mesa Source, who did Barney. Jeez, I'm forgetting his name, like Kevin somebody. Boy, he just nails it, Barney. I mean, what, like, uh, yeah, he's a real friendly guy. So yeah, if I need Barney, I would reach out to him for sure. Let's see. Oh yeah, what film would you like to see adopted into one with an all Muppet cast? I have to think about it for a better answer. But my wife asked me a similar question to this a couple months ago, where it was a little different. It was like if you could take any movie, um, you can save, you can keep one live actor, then everybody else are Muppets. What would you pick? And the answer I gave off the cuff was The Hunger Games. Keep Woody Harrelson, and everybody else is a Muppet. So that's not too bad an answer. I'm trying to think of like what are some other good Muppet. The chat can, yeah, okay, yeah, chat. Feel free to suggest some other candidates for an all Muppet cast. Let's see. Somebody's saying Apocalypse Now. That could be, yeah. Apocalypse Now would be interesting. Oh, somebody's saying The Thing. Huh. I'm trying to. Yeah, that could be interesting. We have one for Hellraiser. Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think I think I'd rather see Muppet Apocalypse Now than Hellraiser. There Will Be Blood. Yeah, that's not a bad one. Yeah, I think we want. Yeah, I think we want kind of like more serious or intense movies that where the Muppets' presence can kind of undercut that, so you end up with something kind of unique. So we have one for Hot Fuzz. I don't know. Hot Fuzz is already kind of goofy, but yeah, there Will Be Blood will be a. Another one's saying Tropical Thunder. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that one's more goofy in itself, but I don't know. I think we want more. Okay, We have one for Fight Club. That's pretty good. Muppet Resident Evil. Muppet Event Horizon. That might be a little too crazy, I think. Yeah, I guess if you want really intense Muppet stuff, you should check out the movie Meet the Feebles. Directed by Peter Jackson. It's like a gritty Muppets version. The Muppetrix. Well, if you want Matrix Muppets, somebody did a trailer of that like many years back. Look up Muppets Matrix trailer. I'm sure you could find it. They did it in just CGI. I mean, it wasn't like state of the art or anything. I think it might have been cell shaded, but it was pretty good. He basically followed everything except just had Muppets for all the characters. Yeah, Kermit was Neo. Miss Piggy was Trinity. Geez, I'm forgetting who Agent Smith was. But yeah, I think Rolf was Morpheus. That's pretty. Yeah, that's a good answer. Muppet Fight Club, and the only human is Tyler Durden. Yeah, that would create a interesting dynamic there. So I'm saying Starship Troopers. I don't know. I like I feel like the ones. Yeah, see, Starship Troopers already has so much comedy. I feel like the Muppets would be too. We have one for Schindler's List. I think that might be a little too. I mean, obviously, it would be offensive to some people, but just offensive stuff can be funny. But I feel like it would just be a bit crazy. So, Terminator 1. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like that one might not deliver quite as well. So yeah, there will be blood. Yeah, I think the keep one live actor is a more fun scenario because then it can really spin it, but because you have the contrast where the actor has to treat the Muppets all as real people. So yeah, Green Mile, that'd be a decent candidate. I haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey, but again, I think we're kind of straying into territory that it sounds like it's somebody else's department with Muppets 50 Shades of Grey. A theater near me did Muppets Die Hard one Christmas. Oh well, there you go. That's a pretty solid choice, especially if you kept Bruce Willis, or you could keep Alan Rickman. No, it's another late actor, but Casino Royale. Okay, yes, there's no shortage of good candidates here. Yeah. Check the chat on this if you want. Pulp Fiction keeps Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, that's. I like that answer too. Top Gun, except Tom Cruise is still Tom Cruise. Yeah. I think that would work well. Yeah, I saw the newer. I was surprised because I'm not even like a huge fan of the original Top Gun. I mean, I think it's all right. I like the music, but I saw the sequel and it was surprisingly good. Like it was just a solid movie. So yeah. Top Gun, either one where we Top Gun where we keep Tom Cruise. The Omen, but keep the kid. That's pretty good too. Yeah, because that creates a really good dynamic because the Muppets would start getting afraid of the kid, and then you'd have the stern Muppet as like the Gregory Peck character. Who would play Gregory Peck? Maybe Sam the Eagle or somebody like that. Yeah. Okay. Well, this could go on. Oh, okay. That's another solid answer. John Wick. Keep Keanu Reeves. Yeah. Yeah. So lots of good answers here. I think producers can feel free to mine this if they want for ideas. Let's. Okay, lost my spot. Oh yeah, okay. What do you think about the events regarding Twitter and the migration to decentralized open source alternative called Mastodon? Well, I haven't been actively following everything that's been going on with Twitter, but I've received so much news just through osmosis because my wife's been following it all over because she uses Twitter a lot more than I do. I think at the moment she's mostly migrated to Tumblr. It's still Amazing Magda. Yeah, that's her Twitter, and I think that's her Tumblr account too. But she keeps sending me all these links on it, and then I have another friend who's been sending me some stuff on it. Well, okay, here we'll talk about Mastodon first because that's the shorter one. I don't have much familiarity with many social media platforms. Obviously, if one's decentralized, I guess that has potential for preservation. Although I could imagine it depends. I was going to say I can imagine the size could get to be an issue after a while. However, if it's just text, you could get a lot of mileage out of that. But that that might be tricky when you have like decentralized stuff where you have a log of everything. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how Mastodon works. So, but I mean, I'm sure there would be, if that became like the de facto standard, I'm sure that you could have people who would step in and be willing to host it. But I mean, like host the archives. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how it works. It could be what I'm saying isn't applicable. But yeah, with Twitter, okay, so for those who don't know or watching this at a different time, best I can tell, Elon Musk has bought Twitter, and it sounds like it's just turning into just a wreck with how he's managing everything. Like he's laying off really important people to keep it running. Doesn't seem to have an obvious plan for what he's doing. Has inconsistent messaging. Like he'll beg them to please stay on and then fire them a few days later. Or whatever. I've heard so many different stories. I have no idea how much of it is accurate or not. Some estimates are that like Twitter is just like it's floating on hot air basically, and if there's like a big problem, it could just go down, and they wouldn't have somebody ready for it to come back up. So I figured there's two possible theories about what's going on with Musk. The first is that I'm fuzzy on details of this. Again, I haven't been following too much of it. It sounds like Musk originally, his bid to buy Twitter was, as I've heard some theories that it might have actually been a bluff initially, and he was just trying to get access to more information on it. But then he leaked the information in a way that made him like legally liable. And maybe he didn't realize that. I think he was just trying to find out like a lot of Twitter was composed of bots, or maybe he was looking for something scandalous. So it sounds like he got himself on the hook to buy Twitter. And then if he didn't, he was going to face a legal battle, which he might lose and actually have criminal consequences. So he ended up buying it. However, the way billionaires tend to buy things that are big is they get, why spend their money when they could spend the banks and do a really long-term, low-interest loan? So it sounds like I think he took out a big loan from a bank or someplace to pay for Twitter. However, if he didn't really want this in the first place, one theory about what's happening is he's intentionally trying to make it go bankrupt, because then if it goes bankrupt, he can, declare bankruptcy, and then he's off the hook for owing the $45 billion they took out to pay Twitter. Again, if somebody says like I have details of this wrong, it's entirely possible I do. I'm only just giving fragments of what I've heard here. I don't know the specifics on any of this. So if he's trying to crash it on purpose, then yeah, I guess he's certainly heading down that path. I mean, because if you're firing a whole bunch of key people and just having like inconsistent goals and everything, I mean, the whole thing feels like his whole style so far feels incredibly impulsive, and like you don't really have much of a plan, or this is just kind of reckless what you're doing. It's like you're just there are some things you can just wing it on, but even then you can have you can have an idea of what you can have an idea of things, of ways certain things might go, and then let's say even if they go in an unpredictable direction, well then you can kind of formulate a new a backup plan. Like, okay, well, this happened, well we'll try this then. And it doesn't seem like he's doing any of that. It just seems like bull in a china shop with how he's handling it. And so that's one theory, is he's doing this on purpose to get off the hook, and has decided not having to pay $45 billion back is worth more to him than basically setting fire to his reputation and possibly seeing stock from his other businesses tank because he's spooking investor confidence, that sort of thing, is worth more than that, which maybe it is. I don't know. This is sort of billionaire games. And the other alternative is this is really how Elon Musk operates with just all of his projects. And he's just been lucky enough in the past that he's had people around him to sort of protect him from himself. And not this time for Twitter. So I have no idea. I mean, people can kind of speculate on it. And that he really is just completely firing off the cuff off this and just managing things the way he's managed other things, which has gone incredibly poorly. I mean, so, yeah, I don't have much of... I personally don't have much of an investment in Twitter. I mean, if it goes down tomorrow, it's like, oh well. I'll keep putting announcements on the website, and I've started using the YouTube community post option more to try and put more announcements there. But I figure if Twitter goes down, some successor will emerge. It might take some time though to see which way the wind blows on that, but I'm not really going to be first in line on that, but wherever the consensus is I should go, I guess I'll go there for announcements. But yeah, if you've sent me any important messages on Twitter, you should maybe use my email instead, rosswscott@gmail.com. I was already behind on trying to sort through Twitter messages because the way they have them formulated, it's kind of a mess if you have a lot of them, in my opinion. Like figuring out who messaged you, who you have responded to, or who you haven't looked at their message yet. And I found the UI kind of confusing on it, but it's possible I may not have to worry about it that much longer. But yeah, what worries me is this might revitalize Facebook and Meta. I doubt that. Yeah, that's another good point. This shows that I think between this and Zuckerberg, this shows that some of the richest people in the world aren't particularly wise. I mean, it's like with Metaverse, I saw that coming like a mile away. But I mean, I guess I'm more biased because I'm more in tune with that sort of thing, with, VR, gaming, social awareness of social games, that sort of thing. But yeah, with Zuckerberg, I think I read that they've invested $36 billion in Meta now. I mean, not in Meta, in the Metaverse. And then Meta as the company, formerly Facebook, I think they've lost it's like $700 billion in valuation on the stock market. So this has obviously been them just setting fire to money. But yeah, but let that sink in. Think of like all your favorite games, like the AAA games, like that have like a bunch behind them. Let's say like, Skyrim or Elden Ring or GTA 5, Destiny 2, these big budget productions that a lot of people like. They've spent $36 billion on creating the metaverse. And they already had all this VR tech in-house. So it's like, I mean, you know what kind of game you can make with that? I mean, that were just... Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, personally, I wouldn't have done it because we have evidence of stuff like Second Life and VR chat as a model for the adoption rate. And those are kind of niche in the gaming world as it is. So but let's say like I was working for Zuckerberg and he insists on the metaverse. What I would have done is first, don't make it tied to VR. I mean, have robust VR support, but don't make it tied to VR. Like it's just too niche a market. I say this as somebody who's really excited about VR. Have it be able to run on almost anything. And then I would think, well, if you have this kind of money and you're trying to bring people in, like all they did was talk about crap like NFTs and like how to sell digital assets, which I guess for a few people they care about that, but the average person I don't think does. So I would just try to mimic like all the most popular stuff and put it all in one place. Because with 36 billion, you could do that. So you have something that's kind of like Fortnite in there. You have something that's kind of like Minecraft. You have something that's a little more like World of Warcraft, with like this MMO experience. And like you can have like this social hub where all of it meets. Or, you know, copy some other stuff. And you have like teams devoted to like each kind of sub game that's kind of trying to compete with like the main games, you know, or what's that? How am I drawing a blank on this? Rocket League. Yeah, have something like Rocket League, or just try and copy all the big moving stuff, because you're going for mass appeal, and then you get so you need something to draw people in, like or yeah, what was it? Disney's doing something like that. Sort of like this something Valley, Shardlight Valley, or something like that, where they're using their assets and they're making like a farming / social game. Yeah, just so try to appeal to as many different mainstream niches as you can, and just have it all in one place. And you can do that because you have $36 billion. I can hire multiple teams to make it all. Yeah, somebody's saying Roblox. That'd be another one to throw. And you could have it, you could go to different zones within the world and maybe try to make it so it's like an MMO, and you could have like social zones sprinkled throughout it. So it would feel real busy, because let's say you're not interested in the social aspect, you're just there for the game. Well, it can make it so that you have to like run through some of the social area to get to the game, or go for different quests or something like that. So it kind of it gives people playing that feeling that it's more alive or something. So yeah, Dreamlight Valley. I think that's it. Yeah, I was mixing. Shardlight's the adventure game, the post-apocalyptic adventure game. I played that one. But yeah, that's what I would do. And even then, that might still fail. But I feel like something like that would have a fighting chance, because you're just stomping around like an elephant trying to get in every big AAA title's face, or at least the more mainstream ones. Like if you're going for full mainstream appeal, you probably wouldn't want something like that's more what's the word I'm looking for? I guess grotesque or something like. So you probably wouldn't want like a Dark Souls competitor, or something that's real bloody or something like that, because the press might latch on to that aspect of it and scare off everyone else. So it would all have to be kind of G or PG rated. But yeah, that would be my idea, and that might fail. But what they're doing, it just seems like a mess. Like it's yeah. Somebody's saying mimic the most popular stuff that's been Instagram strategy. Well, that's what Fortnite did. I mean, Fortnite is not what it started out as. It started off as a sort of like actually more like Minecraft, a bit where you kind of built up your fort during the day, and at night the zombies came and you had to defend it. But then they saw the success of PUBG, copied that, and now it's just kind of king of the hill with battle royale stuff. Yeah. Somebody's saying, what about combining VR and AI learning for some sort of educational game? Yeah, exactly. Have an educational stuff throughout it, or give something so that like there could be a zone for schools to try to get them, to try and entice them. So I mean, when you have that kind of money to throw around, you're willing to burn it on a venture. It's like, good God, there's a lot you can do. Yeah, and again, this isn't like something. And just to be 100% clear. This isn't something I wish would happen. It's just like, this would just be what I would do if I was given orders to make the metaverse. So, and try and do a good job for it. Yeah, I mean, if it was just me and if I just had to make a metaverse for my taste, it would be more like, what was that game? Broken Reality. It would be more like that. That's a fun metaverse. But yeah, I was thinking kind of, this got me thinking kind of intrinsically that, I mean, they can have specialized skills, though I'm not sure what Elon Musk is. Oh yeah, this could be completely false or not. I have no idea. My wife was sending me this report that apparently Musk faked some of his degrees or something. I'm not sure. Somebody can fact check that. I can imagine a lot of rumors being bundled in with the real life crazy stuff that it's hard to say. Let's see. Yeah, someone's in the chat saying people already go through Google Street View. Why not make it a VR experience? Yeah, well, that's something where maybe even 36 billion doesn't buy you the full thing, but I would love something like that. Just add to it bit by bit, But let's see, I lost my train of thought. But with Musk and Zuckerberg just setting fire to money, I mean, I'm sure that, with Musk, I've heard his big talent is being able to get government grants or something like that, being able to acquire funding. So it could be that's where his talent is like he knows how to talk to investors. But as far as running a company, you can't really say he's clever or doing this right, because let's say this is 100% intentional and he's trying to bankrupt Twitter. Well, he's trying to do that to backpedal from his previous mistake, which was preventable. So, but I feel like if you're a billionaire in the first place, it kind of suggests that like you're not the wisest person just by that fact, because you're not using it for something. Most people are just kind of using it as, I imagine most billionaires are just kind of using it as the same way myself or the viewers would use like a high score in a game, like with me just kind of comparing my Trackmania score or something like that, except they're using real world resources like that. Because otherwise, what's the point? If you have, I totally understand wanting to have enough money so that you never have to work again. But that's way below $1 billion. And let's say you want to live the rest of your life in luxury. That's still way below $1 billion, having billions of dollars. I mean, you could stay at like, I think a friend of mine did something. He was picking out like these exclusive hotels, which are like tens of thousands a night. And like you could just stay there for just forever or something. So the fact that you're a billionaire means you're hoarding resources way past the point of a normal person. So that doesn't really make you wise unless it's like, unless there was like a specific goal you had to reach enough wealth to then dump it into. So I don't know. So I think if someone is a billionaire, I think just by definition that shows they're lacking some wisdom. I mean, it doesn't mean they can't be smart people. Well, in fact, a lot of them are smart. Yeah, I mean, Musk and Zuckerberg are kind of making themselves seem like clowns, but who is it? Jeff Bezos. I mean, he's still pretty scary. I mean, like that move he did a while back with the Amazon HQ thing. I mean, that's evil genius stuff, what he did there. So, I mean, he seems like he's just as ruthless with that. But although even then, we talk about wisdom. I mean, Bezos got divorced. Was it Bill Gates is getting divorced? I mean, so that they weren't able to keep their personal life together. It doesn't sound like they were like ones they were particularly comfortable about. So, Okay, so yeah, I should move on to more questions. Oh yeah, this one. So it's saying, how is your work-life balance? Poor. I'm. There's too many things I'm trying to do. In fact, I mentioned to my wife that I wasn't looking forward to this question because it kind of reminds me of like I would love more free time. And the first words out of her mouth once I said that were, she said, "Oh my God, is this person trying to be mean?" Because she knows how much I work, and I eventually have like a long-term plan where I end up working less, but there's a lot of things I want to accomplish also, so it's not great. Uh, I guess that's the dream. Have a good work-life balance. I still want to do that thing where I took a couple days off that I did back in January. But I want to get. Hey, I haven't been doing all-nighters, so that's some progress. So I've had some late episodes, but I have not been doing all-nighters. So it's slowly getting better. So I'm slowly working at this. I'm not even a workaholic, really. It's just there are things I want to accomplish, and they're not accomplished yet, and they all take a long time, it seems like. So I'm not someone who just works for its own sake and like I get a buzz out of just working so much. No, it's just. Oh, okay. When it comes to fan questions, do you like answering deeper questions that can get philosophical, or simpler questions like recalling stories from your life? Or do you not really prefer any kind of question? Well, they don't necessarily have to be deep questions. I guess I prefer stuff that's more about like kind of topics, like again, like the Muppet thing, or you're talking about Twitter and ramifications of that, or like last time it was just video cards. I mean, it can get into deeper territory. That's fine. I guess I prefer the ones like recalling stories from my own life less, because I have to just try to remember. And then maybe I don't have a great example, or I remember it like a lot later or something like that. Plus, only so many things have happened to me too. So, yeah, I guess the ones I kind of prefer those a little less. But ones about just general topics, I kind of prefer those. So, but I mean, if people really want me to talk about something, I will. I mean, unless it's something I don't want to, but would you bring back awards at the end of the game dungeon? Yeah, I mean, maybe I should. I almost did it for Trick Style, but it was running so long, and I spent so much time on it. That would have added an extra day to it easily, because I have to hunt down the imagery, and then like re-record a line for it, and just edit that all in together. I really think it would have added a day. Like, see, that sounds like something that should take like 5-10 minutes. No, it doesn't. It takes a lot longer. Just going through the graphics work of doing it, saving it, adjusting the timeline. I mean, it might have taken the literal whole day, but it might have delayed things enough. It would take hours. So I guess my main reservation is it just sort of repeats what I've already said. And somebody said that that got kind of stale for them. So it's like I have to think about it more. But tell you what, I'm keeping it in mind. If some jump out to me as like good candidates, I'll use them. And I kind of did have one for Trick Style, but if it's just a repetition, I don't know. It feels. I mean, I guess if people, I would need to see like a poll breakdown of how many people want it versus just they're fine without it. They don't need me repeating stuff I already said any more than I am already. So, I mean, if it's like 85% want it back in any form, it's like, okay, I guess I better bring it back. But if it's like 50-50, well, then I might want to save it for just real choice ones. But put it like this: I have one in mind for a future episode, and it's like a good one too, not like a online only one. I don't like having to do those, but it might actually be the next one. It might actually be the next one. I'm not sure yet. I'm still figuring some things out. Let's see. Have I ever played Miasmata? I'm not sure. That sounds kind of familiar. So I'll just check. Sometimes it looks like no. Looks like I haven't played that one. Okay, and I lost my tab. There we go. But yeah, I can maybe bring it back. It's just, they have to be pretty good ones. Oh yeah, this is a good question, but I didn't have a great answer. If there's a character you could give one-liners or silly jokes to during gameplay situations, like Duke Nukem or Serious Sam, who would it be? Oh man, I didn't spend. I looked at this one kind of late. Yeah, I meant to come up with some answers, but I didn't. So I have to think off the cuff. Let's see. Well, okay, I guess this could. I could probably come up with a better answer later, but because I know a later question was about Clive Barker's Undying, we could go with that. We could have the main protagonist from that doing some one-liner. I guess that would kind of undercut the spooky vibe, though. So it wouldn't. The comedy would come at a cost. Somebody say, Aloy? I don't know that game. Saying Master Chief for Halo. I don't know. I think, well, maybe, but I mean, Master Chief always comes across as like really dry from what I've seen. I haven't. I'm not familiar with the storyline on the later Halo games, but are your curtains hanging on heat pipes behind your back? No, those are PVC pipes. Those are just stands I've constructed to help dampen the sound. So it's just a wall behind those curtains. Oh man, maybe the chat will have some good suggestions for like what game protagonist should have some one-liners. You know, something like action movie style one-liners. That is a good question. That is a good question. I mean, I guess maybe Painkiller, but I feel like we could do better. So something where, okay, so I'm saying Mega Man. Well, that'd be kind of weird though, because Mega Man's normally associated as like a non-verbal game series. It's just kind of a platformer. Oh, somebody's saying Bozo from Bozo's Night Out. Yeah, okay, drunk. Yeah, drunk character. One-liners. That one's more obscure though. So I'm saying, does Adam Jensen count? I feel like I wouldn't do as much. Isaac Clarke, you have the same problem as Undying, where that would kind of, you're taking away some of the scary mood, I think. So I'm saying Steve from Minecraft. Well, that one's pretty open-ended. Man, I have to think about. Yeah, sorry I didn't get a chance to think about that. I meant to, and then it slipped. Morty from Planescape. Well, I think Morty, from what I have played of Planescape, he gives a lot of one-liners as it is, doesn't he? Oh, somebody's saying Doom Guy. Yeah, okay, we'll go with Doom Guy. Yeah, Doom could use some one-liners. I mean, I guess he's a silent protagonist, but you know, it would fit right in for Doom. We'll go with Doom for now until we get a better answer. Bozo's Night Out. I'm CIA is saying Bozo's Night Out speaks to me on a very personal level. You should try it. Like, I'm really not kidding about those controls. They are masterful for simulating the drunk. Like, it's incredible. Like, trying to play with those controls. They just killed it. Let's see. Okay, so okay, Ross, I recently bought an MP3 player and was wondering, how do you use yours? I meant to bring mine in here to show you. It's like a Sansa Clip Plus thing. It's like this big. It's pretty tiny. I mean, I put music on it sometimes. Other times I just pick topical videos that I'm interested in, just convert them to MP3 and then just listen to those. Yeah, like my most recent one. Okay, warning, this is not like feel good material, but it's what I was interested in. The Real State of Our Biosphere with Robert Hunziker. It's one of the better overviews I've listened to on kind of the state of the environment. It's not cheery listening, but it's something I kind of wish was more public knowledge, because we could there'd be better awareness of just how precarious things are. But yeah, that's I think that one was like suggested on the side of my YouTube video, so I thought, okay, I'm interested in that, and that's how it happens sometimes. Is I'll just kind of get suggestions or topics I'm interested in, then I'll convert them to MP3s and I'll listen to them when I go exercise. I mostly just use it when I exercise, or sometimes if I have to do chores like dishes or like cleaning stuff or things like that. But yeah, no, I use it almost every day. So it's, yeah, it's handy for me. And again, it's like super tiny. So, yeah, and it can go for like 12 hours or something like that. I forget how much. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, I'll link to this in the YouTube on YouTube when I put it up. Somebody has gotten the original Doom running on my brand of MP3 player, because people get Doom running on everything. So I'll link to that in the description. Okay. I didn't even see this question. What type of animals are kept upon that accursed farms? Well, I mean, we have a cow, obviously. I imagine chickens would be something. Maybe goats. I don't know. It just, maybe pigs. Just normal livestock. You know. Are you still planning to make a video on the sequel to Still Life? Yeah, I probably will. But it's lower priority for me. You're not missing a fantastic episode, I don't think. That'll probably be a post-countdown movie. You know, I'm doing the countdown of videos. Then I'm gonna work on nothing but the movie for a month or two, and then slowly get back to probably Game Dungeon and Freeman's Mine. But like, I have to like have a cutoff point for myself where I'm just working on the movie, because otherwise the pressure to get a new video out it keeps piling up with me. So it's a long-time budget gamer. Have you had any experience with MUDs? They had their heyday in the dial-up era, but there's a few dozen still hanging around with decent-sized player bases. Well, actually, I think in the early days, MUDs weren't such a budget option, because you had to pay for internet by the hour. And even then, it's like not everyone, internet wasn't as common. I never did, but I had a friend who did, and he'd sometimes tell me stories about it. Like he did, like I remember one or two stories that he had. One was that, like, he almost managed to like crash the server, because what happened is there would be like this new starter area where people would spawn and, like level 1 character, that sort of thing. And it would describe what was like right in front of you, and you type commands, where to go, that sort of thing. And what he did is he came back with these bodies he had looted and just dumped them there right in the starter area, like a lot of them. So basically every new player went there, and the description would say like, you're standing in front of the tavern, and then it would say like, you see the body of an orc or by you, or that would be like listed. And then they would search it. And then that would send a command to the server. And then just like basically he dropped that in front of like every new player, and they were all searching that same body just over and over and over again. And I guess the way the mud was set up, this kind of like was choking out the server for the request for, just because it might have been getting like thousands of hits for everybody to search that body that he dropped there, because everybody thought, oh, there's a loot on it, search the body. And I thought that was pretty funny. And then he had another one where, I'm sure there's a lot of MMO stories like this one, where he was with this party and they were going up against some sort of monster, I forget what, and it was giving them a run for their money. I think it ended up killing their tank character, like the warrior or paladin or something. And then he said like their healer ran away, like he got scared, and then it might have killed more than one of them. And then everybody else just ran, and he just through dumb luck managed to get some critical hit on it after everyone had ran out. So it counted him as getting the kill solo. And so he got just a ridiculous amount of experience and really good loot. Like it was just, I don't even know the context of all of it, but I remember him telling me like, he talked back. Yeah, I think he killed most of the party and the healer ran away. I think that's what happened. I think most of them went down with the ship there. And then like he was talking with another party member later, he's saying, it's like, oh, how much did you get? And he said, you don't want to know, because that basically just shot up his character like to just a level that who knows how many months it might have taken him to get the gear or the gold or the XP or whatever that he got from just being the last man standing and getting that final blow as he himself was about to die. So I'm trying to think of some other mud stories I've heard. I think there was one that was like a Reddit story somebody sent me. Maybe somebody in the chat will recognize this, where he entered this mud, I think it was a mud, where I'll link to this if I can find the original story. I'm making notes for myself. Where the gist of it was, this was a mud that had been going on for a couple years or a long time, and there was a certain amount of encroachment in it. So like the new players, I mean like the old players have sort of carved out their fiefdom and like could kind of even influence the economy, that sort of thing, and can make another player's life hell if they wanted to. And this was an imbalanced game where if you wanted to like really go far in it, you kind of had to play a certain class and had to do this skill. But this guy didn't want to play it like that. He wanted to play like a melee kind of monk fighter or something like that, which did not work well with it. But he didn't care. He was role playing. He wanted to play a different kind of character. So he was trying to like level up with it and was having a hard time. And a lot of players were giving him crap about it. Yeah, and if you know what I'm talking about, list it in the chat, because you'll probably recognize it. And he was leveling up, and I think he ended up like offending one of the old time players. It might not have even been his fault. It's just this guy just might have been a prick, where they had kind of a vendetta for him and was like looking to kill him or something, or was sending assassins after him. or something like that. But he managed to like stumble into this like item or ability that made it made his like martial arts ability work much better than it was supposed to, or that anyone on the server was even aware of. Like he stumbled onto some combo that did it, and then he started going down, taking out like a lot of the players, and then they would send, and then they sent like these like heavy duty guys after him. And I think one guy ended up backing him up because he was pissed at the other old time players there, and I remember there was one part where basically like his punch ignored conventional defenses, and like every single player was spec'd for like the certain classes or ways you're supposed to play the game because it was kind of imbalanced, and his punches like ignored that. And so they thought they had these godlike defenses, but they really didn't to this particular attack because nobody on the server was using that. So it was. I mean, I might be getting some details of this off, but I'd have to look that up. If I can find that Reddit story, I'll dig it up. So somebody, a friend of mine, sent that to me, and he ended up taking down like one of the most. It was like a dethroning of all these like unpleasant old time players that were just kind of power tripping off of being in this game and talking down to everyone. And yeah, they're basically power tripping. You play enough multiplayer games, you'll run into that. But it was interesting. I'll see if I can find that story. I may or may not, because I don't know if I remember enough details or the key words from it, but I'm pretty sure I know which friend sent me that story, so maybe he has it. But yeah, so you know, even in the old days, I still kind of like graphics, even if they were like real simple ASCII type graphics. So I never really got into MUDs too much myself. But again, it's like the MMOs that I mentioned in my birthday video. I love the stories that come out of these. So yeah, you along with interesting, insane, or kind of funny MMO stories, MUDs count too. You know, those work also. I still need to catch up on a lot of those. Maybe I'll do that for my birthday this year. Let's see. Okay, somebody's pointing out more speedrun records for the various games covered on Game Dodge, and it looks like half of them have no record. I'm trying to see if there's any. Oh, there's no record for Baldi's. Oh, well, they should have that. Yeah, they should rise to the challenge for that one. That's one you could definitely, if you're a really good RTS player, you could try to speed run through that. I'm trying to see if there's any that like stand out to me time-wise. Captain Zap, 4 minutes, 18 seconds. I could see that if you knew just exactly what you're doing. That still seems pretty fast, but yeah, I guess you could do that. Let's see. The Crew, 2 hours, 49 minutes. I guess some of these are like real long games, but they're long in the sense that I'm just kind of getting the full experience, so I don't have a good gauge as to like how fast you could run through it if you were like really just beelining towards the end. Others sound about right. Like they're saying Alien Carnage, 20 minutes, 31 seconds. And that one's tool assisted, apparently. I could see that. Mini DayZ, 21 minutes. I bet if... I don't even know how you can beat Mini DayZ. I guess you just uncover the whole map? Kind of... Maybe there is a winning objective. I don't know. Well, Death Road to Canada, 12 minutes, 55 seconds. I could see that, but I bet they weren't using a starter character. I bet they had like all these unlocks for it, because that makes a huge difference. Oh yeah, okay. Messiah, 35 minutes, 8 seconds. I guess maybe if you're beeline, and I'll mention something on Messiah because one of the other questions was about this. They were saying, Roz, your AI behavior isn't how the game's supposed to operate. You should have turned on VSync and capped the frame rate to 60 frames per second. I was running the GOG copy. My monitor then and now actually is 60 hertz, and I almost always run things with VSync on unless there's like a real good reason not to, or if that we're screwing up recording, just because I don't like tearing. And I couldn't get these specs with a higher refresh rate or something like G-Sync or actually with G-Sync and FreeSync, a lot of the monitors, this could be complete superstition, but because I've really tried to research when I upgrade a monitor because I'm paranoid about it going bad. And it seems like a lot of G-Sync or VSync or G-Sync or FreeSync monitors, they seem to have a higher failure rate, judging by the feedback from reviews, than monitors that didn't. I mean, it's not, I'm sure plenty of people have that and it works great and there's no problem, but it's just, I get paranoid when I look at some of the reviews. So I wouldn't want to just die on me, but I'm obviously interested in the tech. But yeah, let's see. Trying to see if there's any. But yeah, with Messiah, I did there was this top comment that somebody was saying, "Oh, you should have done this." So I should have done the thing I was already doing. In other words. Like, I can believe it was running incorrectly, but that wasn't why. So, and it's not the first time that's happened where somebody tells you, oh, Ross, you should have done this thing. You should have done this. And it gets voted up to the sky. And it's like, I did that. That's how I recorded it, you know? So, well, there's going to be another video on that sort of thing later on. I'm trying to see if there's any more remarkable speed runs here. The Division, 5 minutes, 53 minutes, 5 hours, 53 minutes. That's quick. That's quick for the Division. I'm not sure how they did that. Maybe they had some assistance. I mean, like other people helping them, you know. Oh, so there is a speed. Okay, so there is a time for, there is a record for killing time, 33 minutes, 42 seconds. You might be able to beat it. I mean, it's hard to say because you can run fast in that game, especially if you hold down run the entire time. And if you figured, and it's the sort of thing where there's only a few items that you need. Well, actually, no, I guess there's several with the keys, but it's non-linear. So you'd have to like, you'd want to like sit down and like make a chart of everything you need, and some are unlocked after certain other items, like with the vessels and the keys and stuff. So you would almost, you can make this like entire like logic puzzle out of the most optimal way to run through that game, whereas how much time it takes to get to this point versus this point, and you do that before these 3 points. Once you get to these 3 points, what's the optimal way then? So that would take some planning. That would take some planning for killing time. And for killing time, maybe that's just the 3DO version. So, you know, it's a different experience, the 3DO and versus the PC copy. And he's saying I should, he's saying he wants to see if I have a world record for the game. Well, I'm not speed running any of the games I'm playing. It's not really my thing. Plus it's, I find it interesting as a concept, but I just like to get kind of the full experience from the game, and that's the exact opposite of what speedrunning is. So I don't really care what my time is when I play a game. Okay, well, what are some of your favorite quotes that you have to do a double take on to get the meaning of? Okay, well, I just thought of another one right now, but There was one I like. I think I saw it on a T-shirt before, and it's one I wouldn't mind a T-shirt of it. Let's see if I have it memorized. It's like, yeah, I went out to find myself. If you see me before I get back, keep me here. I like that one. Um, okay, I thought of, I'm, Chad, if you have any ideas of other quotes that you have to do a double take on, feel free to put them in there. If I thought about this longer, I could probably come up with some better ones. But I thought of two that they're, I thought of two that like never really made sense to me. Okay, so maybe chat, you can explain these. What? Oh, someone's saying how many games give you 100%? Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure if I've ever done 100% on a game. I have to care about what constitutes 100% of the game. Like if it's like a fun extra objective, yeah, I'll do it. If this feels tedious, no, I'm not going to do it. And it's option because I'm thinking like with Watch Dogs, like they had these. I did a lot of the extra challenges in Watch Dogs, but I don't think I think I did all the secondary missions. Maybe some I didn't like because I liked a lot of the gameplay. I like the things where you find these hidden QR codes by lining up the environment in the right way. I thought that was a lot of fun. And it was like an excuse to see more of the environment. I liked all the like the tactical assault submissions, that sort of thing. I may not have done all the mini games though. I don't know. Okay, well somebody's saying you're a big guy for you from I guess that one was a double entendre for but hey, since we're mentioning Batman, one of mine was from Batman. I always get this mixed up. I never remember which one it is. It's like he's the hero our city needs, not the one it deserves, or he's the hero our city deserves, not the one it needs. Which is it? Which is the order? Because one of it might not make more. I'm sure the chat will. That's one that always threw me off. It's like, well, wait a minute. Does that mean like he's the best that they have, but they deserve better? But wait, but if he's what they need, then like I always get thrown off on that. City needs not the one it deserves. Okay, so he's the hero the city needs, not the one it deserves. Well, if he's what they need, isn't that what would they? Okay, so he's saying like the city doesn't deserve him. I mean, that seems a little pompous for Batman, but maybe he's just saying the city's rotten. Like, but I mean, doesn't Gotham deserve to like be good and or something? Or maybe it's too corrupt and he's just doing the good thing anyway. So, okay, so yes, saying yes, the city doesn't deserve him. He's the hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now. See, the other interpretation, if it's reversed, it would be like they deserve better than, or they need more than him, but like he's all they get, or something. That might make sense. The city deserves a better hero, but it's bad enough it needs something. But if he's this hero they need, wouldn't that be good enough as deserving it? Like, I don't know. That one always threw me off a bit. Like, okay, another. I should see some of the. Okay, so I'm looking at some of the. I'm backing up on the chat to see if somebody gave other quotes. Before you criticize a man, walk a mile in his shoes. That way, when you do criticize him, you're a mile away and have his shoes. Well, that's just a joke on the old saying, walk a mile in their shoes. That one's not confusing. It's because it's it's a metaphor saying, you don't know what this person's been through. You should. It's easy to judge, Yeah, they're saying Gotham is a city full of scum and corruption, so it doesn't deserve saving. but Batman does it anyway. Yeah, see, there's that interpretation, but he's obviously saving Gotham from somebody. I mean, it's not Sin City, where like everybody is just like seedy or just a criminal or something like that. I mean, there are good people in Gotham, so you feel like they deserve and need Batman. I mean, yeah, if it was Sin City, I could see that. Where just like, I guess Sin City has a few good people, but it's like so overwhelming that, yeah, Basin City or something. Or yeah, that's like a theme of, what was it, the Arrow, another DC hero, where like the city is corrupt and he's like trying to cleanse. And that one I think carries a little more because it's like the people running the city are like full of corruption. So, but yeah, it always threw me off, like the wording of that. And another one that threw me off was from the Avengers, where with Bruce Banner when he's saying that's his secret. He's always angry, and then he turns into the Hulk, and like that never added up in my head. It's like, okay, so Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk when he basically kind of can't control his emotions, and usually from anger. So, but if he's always angry, how would that change the scale? Yeah, okay. Somebody say Chemo City. Yeah, from Quarantine. Yeah, that's another candidate. Or just everybody. Well, a lot of people in Chemo City are just crazy. So they're not all bad. They're just nuts. But yeah, there's plenty of crime in there too. Yeah, somebody's saying Lobo. Yeah, I don't know much about Lobo, but I think he's sort of like a badass biker version of Superman kind of thing. So yeah, he might be the city they deserve. He might be the hero they deserve. An equal badass to deal with all the other badasses. But yeah, okay. So if he's always angry, like it was supposed to be some clever irony there, but it just went over my head every time. Like, because if he's always angry, it seems like he's like right on the edge of being the Hulk at all times, but he just chooses to like let it spill over, or but that doesn't explain how he's able to keep a lid on it though, because that was something from earlier, how Tony Stark was messing with him, and he was giving him like electrical shock or something, and he wasn't turning into the Hulk. So, but it seems like that wouldn't be a defense against that. It's like just he can bring it out at will. Okay, yeah. So let's say he can bring it out at will, but then how does that connect to him? Like, not, if he's always angry, then I don't know. It just it just, it's about self-control. Okay, but if he's always angry, I guess that would explain how it's easy for him to turn into the Hulk. But that doesn't explain how he has the resilience of not turning into the Hulk most of the time. Bannon suppresses a lot of anger. The Hulk happens when he stops. Okay, but I don't know. It didn't quite connect when I saw it. So yeah, these are just really the stuff I'm getting tripped on. These are like really like simple kind of superhero movie quotes here. I'm trying to see if there's any other good quotes people brought up that just kind of. Well, there's the old saying, you're head over heels over something. It's like, well, everybody, yeah, that's one where it just, the saying is with us, but it never makes much sense, because if you're head over heels, that's what everybody is most of the time. It seems like if your heels over a head, then you're doing cartwheels or a backflip, then that would make sense. But Uh, yeah, okay. The whole point of the tragedy of the Hulk is he has no control. A Hulk with control is not the Hulk. Yeah, but Bruce Banner. Yeah, I don't know. It's look, there's somebody saying the phrase "having cold feet" oddly fits. Yeah, yeah. I guess if your feet are yeah, I guess if your feet are cold, you're like more hesitant to go into something because if they're already cold, what do you have to lose? You know? Yeah, I guess the hesitancy would be like going into cold water or something. I guess when his scene with Black Widow shows that he can be petty and abusive. I don't really remember that. Like I remember him just sort of having like a well okay. I haven't seen the new She-Hulk, but I'm thinking him and Black Widow. That was like the second Avengers. I only saw it once, so maybe I missed something. But I just remember him just sort of just having like a kind of emerging relationship kind of thing, and I don't remember the petty and abusive part. Actually, I think I've heard from the comics like Ant-Man can be abusive. Like I think I heard like according to the canon, he's like sort of an alcoholic, and maybe like hit his girlfriend or something. I don't know. I just there's specks of so much of what I know are just like specks of information I heard somewhere that I'm aware if I verified them or not, and I usually haven't. So, uh, people have said comics Ant-Man is a jerk. Okay, I can see where they might want to change that for the movies. Having your cake and eating it too doesn't make much sense either. Okay, that's one that stumped me for the longest time, but I have it. I have it now. Okay, with having your cake and eating it too, that means like you either have your cake, which is, you know, you can have it for later or sell it or give it to somebody else, or you can eat it. You if you're eating it, your cake no longer exists in front of you because you ate it. So it's not there. Yeah, that one that one can throw you off, but that one actually does make sense. It's an odd one though. It's not uh it's not a common one. I mean, it's one that like makes you stop and you're thinking like, what? So yeah, I think they mean the whole cake. So yeah, if by definition, if you've eaten the cake, you don't. It's in your stomach now. It doesn't have any more value. So and you can't eat it all over again. You would need you would need another cake. I'm trying to well, if I notice them, I like this question. If people think of other good quotes that just throw you off, feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, if somebody's saying "out with a bang but a whimper," well, no, that's that one makes sense. Like you know, like a firework or something. If you're going out with a bang, it means you're being real splashy about it, making a big deal. Hey, Elon Musk and Twitter, he's going out with a bang on Twitter. Like he's getting a lot of attention on that. Or if you're going out with the whimper, it's like real quiet. You're not seeking a lot of attention. So that one's just a metaphor that one mostly makes sense. These don't have to be common sayings, but yeah, if you think of other good quotes, I'll try to check the chat. If I notice it, we'll swing back to that again. But I'll just go on to the next question. Let's see. What's been your experience with relationships before meeting your wife? How did you know of what made it click that you wanted to marry her? Well, I mean, I may not go into too many details. I'll just say that, like, before I met Magda, I mean, I've been on a series of dates or like online stuff. I mean, I'm probably not going to get into details of my other relationships, but uh, and it was just, I mean, the word horrendous is just, it wasn't going anywhere, and I mean, I must have gone maybe like a dozen or so, and I finally just decided I wasn't against the concept of dating, but it felt like the odds of me meeting the right person this way, they just weren't looking so good. So I decided, you know what, I'm not particularly great at, I'm not exactly Don Juan here. So I just, at that time, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to get more just sort of life satisfaction from my own project. So I was basically preparing to go like full mad scientist and just like, okay, well, I mean, I'm not against dating and meeting more women, but it's just like this, the strikeout rate is just, it's not good. It's not, I feel like it's not worth it for me personally. So, and through dumb luck, that led to Magda noticing me. And, we originally wrote via email and then later did video chat. And then I ended up moving to Poland. And we hit it off pretty well. So it's like by coincidence, we sort of shared values on a lot of things that I think are most important and just got along well. So it was just kind of dumb luck, I guess. So. Oh, we have another quote. They don't think it be like it is, but it do. Well, no, that would make sense. We're just lacking specifics. It just that means people are in disbelief of something, but that it really is how it really is what they don't think it. Something that they believe can't possibly be or not real. No, it really is like that. They just don't believe it. So. I like that. I like that saying. They don't think it be like it is, but it do. That's a good one. Yeah, I remember. Okay, the abusive scene was in the first Avengers. He threatens her for no reason other than simple curiosity. Though he's entirely capable of killing her without side effect. Oh, no. Oh, I think he's referring to the scene where Black Widow first kind of gets him. I think he was just messing with her. That was my, it's like, it's like trying to make somebody flinch, go like making a gesture. From what I remember, I'm fuzzy on it. So I remember that being like a little more playful. That he's just trying to make her. He was just posing theoreticals, like letting her well aware. He was trying to get her to understand just how dangerous he is. And he was just kind of posing that as a hypothetical. I think like at no point was he like intentionally trying to like put her in jeopardy from what I remember from the first Avengers. So, yeah, so I don't think that was, that's just, I think you maybe did, either I'm remembering it wrong or you missed the social cues, one or the other. So. Okay, so I'm saying, do you mind is one of those questions you can answer that mean the same thing with both a yes and a no. Okay, well, let me think. Okay, yeah, now that's slowing me down, thinking about, okay, do you mind? No. No, I don't think so, because if somebody says like, okay, well, I guess okay. No, there's more than one way to use "do you mind?" I think. Okay, so say somebody's like playing an instrument or something, and then somebody else says, "Do you mind?" It's really at that point, it's rhetorical, because you're not, the person who's saying that isn't even expected to answer. It's really just saying, "Will you please stop?" You're not even expected to answer, so it's not even rhetorical. But if it works in the reverse, where you say, like, say the guy at the instrument wants to play the trumpet or something, and it says, "Hey, do you mind if I play this?" Well, then it is a yes or no question. It's like you say, "Yeah, I do." That would be a distractor. It's like, "No, go ahead, whatever." So yeah, it's either not meant to be answered, or if it's used the other way around, then it's that's yes or no, and they mean opposite things. So that one's not bad though. That one's not bad because it's a dual usage, and the answering changes based off the usage. Let's see. Let's see. He terrified her. Okay, they're saying power imbalance. He terrified her, and her it was just a joke. Well, no. Okay, no, because you say power imbalance. He knows she came there to seek him out. That's like going to visit somebody who you know they have like a dangerous dog like on a leash or something. It's like, oh, so you're coming, and they have like a no trespassing sign or something. Like, it's I'd have to watch it again. I don't remember that being. My memory of it was that he was just kind of being playful with her based on the circumstances. Like, you should know better than what you're doing, and he was just kind of giving her a small taste of like that, just in case she was being overconfident about that. But yeah, that's what I remember. Okay, so I've lost my train of thought here. Okay, we got a quote from 8mm movie. If you dance with the devil don't change. The devil changes you. Never knew what to make with it. Oh, no, that means that's it's the same as, I think it's the same as like the Nietzsche quote. Like if you stare in the abyss stares back at you. Maybe it's a little different, but the concept is that if you're doing something like immoral, I guess, or it's kind of shady, maybe not morally ambiguous, or no, actually, I'm not sure of the meaning. That it could be one. It could be either that, or say you're trying to reform something that's like corrupted. They're saying that like you're not going to do that. It's going to corrupt you. But or if you're doing something morally ambiguous, but you think you can like walk the line where you're not going to kind of become a bad person or do bad things or something, they're saying it's not going to work. It's going to change you. I think that's what the meaning of that one. Yeah, you dance to the devil don't change. The devil changes you. Yeah, so I think it could be either one, where you're going in trying to reform something that just isn't reformable, or you're kind of doing something morally iffy yourself, but you think you're gonna like stay out of it okay. It's like odds are you're probably not. So. Okay, the chat keeps asking about the Legacy of Kain. That's been asked multiple times before. I mean, maybe I'll do it eventually, but Legacy of Kain, look, some episodes take a lot longer to do than others. I don't even know. I just said earlier, I like kind of keep them around 40 minutes or lower when I can. Legacy of Kain, it's like, good God, there's so much in there. That one would take so much work. That's work I'd rather throw at the movie. So that if that happens, it'll probably be a post-movie episode, because are you going to talk about Legacy of Kain and not talk about, or Blood Omen, and not talk about the other 4 games? So it's like it's just a lot of that one's be a lot of work, I think. And if I'm doing a lot of work, I want it to go towards the movie. So, or a lot of. I'm already doing a lot of work. If I'm doing just above and beyond a lot of work, then I want to go towards the movie. And somebody's asking, what did I do for a living? I guess it's software. No, I've had multiple jobs. Well, you can watch my Ross's Fun-Filled Begathon video. I cover some of my jobs in that. I also did phone tech support. Yeah, for the. Yeah, I also did security guard. I I did do PC repair. I never worked in software, but I mean, you use software doing phone tech support, but I did do PC repair and building systems. I had multiple jobs like that. So more hardware than software. Okay, we have another quote. We have no reason to harbor any mistrust against our world, for it's not against us. It has terrors. They are our terrors. It has abysses. These abysses belong to us. There are dangers. We must try to love them. Okay, this is harbor any. That sounds kind of specific for like the context of the setting for that one. I think the idea though is just look. I haven't seen this one before. They're saying if there are abysses, they belong to us. They're dangerous. We must try to love them. My interpretation of what you just wrote there, again, I don't know the context at all, is they're saying, you know, this is our responsibility or our duty, that if we have problems we need to deal with, then we better learn to like dealing with them, because it's all on us. That's kind of the interpretation I get from that. So, yeah, I don't know the exact context though. Okay, so I'll try and do some more questions. Speaking of hoverboard games, you know the Unreal Tournament 3 has those in certain game modes. There was also a snowboarding mod for the game where you slid down a hill and snowball. I did not know about the mod. I guess I didn't know about the game mode, but I tried to. I sort of tried to cover my bases with that one by showing the example of what was it, Odyssey, or no, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, saying that there have been other games that did have a hoverboard, but it wasn't really a full mode. I don't remember doing tricks in Unreal Tournament 3. Maybe it could be I'm remembering it wrong, but it's just sort of a mode within it, and it wasn't like the full kind of hoverboard experience. But you're right, they did have that, and a lot of people mentioned Jack. Was it Jack and Dexter? That was one where I barely know anything about it, and I also, okay, I say I know. This is another example where I have no idea where I got this information from, but I have this impression that one's kind of a cult classic for people too. Like there's some people who really like that series. So I figure, you know what, I'm just gonna assume this wasn't the premier hoverboarding experience and just hope that's close enough, and say that this is just a mode within the game and that's not like the best. I feel like my reasoning was, if this was really the premier hoverboard experience, then in just researching hoverboard games, this would have come up more. And I would have seen a comment like, God, I wish there was another game that had Jack and Dexter style hoverboarding or something like that. Yeah, and see, people mentioned Quake 3. Exactly, there's like one character that has a hoverboard, and there's nothing that really distinguishes them with it gameplay wise. So, just checking to see if there's any more quotes that people want me to put in there. Oh, okay. Well, okay. They're saying, never understood Fallout's quote, "War never changes." I might mention this one in a later game dungeon, but yeah, that one slowed me down a bit too, because of course the nature of war does change, but what they mean is that there's the things heading towards war never changes, is what he's saying. It's like I think it was Aristotle who said, like, yeah, I think they had a quote like, only the dead have seen the end of war. The idea is that like while the methodology of war will change, they're saying just like it seems to be like part of human nature that we're gonna wage war. So I think that, yeah, the Ron Perlman quote in just like every Fallout game. So I think that's what they mean. Obviously, nuclear war is couldn't be farther different, couldn't be more different than like the war in the times of Sun Tzu. You know, it's totally different dynamics. But the fact that we're even having war, that's what they're saying doesn't change. With that, I'd say who knows. You know, it's what war usually spawns. War can spawn from for different reasons, and some of those are very preventable. So it's, I mean, what the a whole lot of wars are just from the whims of rulers, but then there's other wars that can be from resources or just huge cultural clashes over time, or it depends. I think I'm ambiguous as to how, as far as no, it's guaranteed there'll always be war. It just kind of depends, because there'll always be conflicts, but war, I mean, it's basically organized. It's organized mass murder. So that's not. Look, there's always going to be somebody who like wants to kill their neighbor, or just somebody in a bar or something. But organized mass murder, that's different. It's a different dynamic. So it's yeah. I feel like that's not necessarily endemic to human nature. However, maybe human nature can flow along certain paths that makes that more likely, I guess, with its organization. I'd say war is just as much an organizational problem as it is like a psychological one. Because again, I mean, if you're going to war because it's basically that's what your country's saying to do or your leader's saying to do, well, that's not necessarily a human nature thing. It's more like there are external forces pushing you towards that. And so it's more who we have at the top pushing you to war that lead to that. So if there's a way to get different organization that's not incentivized towards war, then maybe that is preventable. Like I'm thinking back to in the Rama sequels, in the books, like the octopod, what are they called? Octospiders. In their organization, war is a much bigger deal, in that if it's something they try to avoid at all costs, and if they decide it's necessary, then their leader is basically the leader who makes the decision to go to war, they will basically they'll be executed after the war is over, because they want this to be just as part of their culture, because they want this to be truly the last resort that all leaders will try to avoid if there's any other way. And if the only way they will do it is they feel like this is a complete existential threat, that they would rather wage the war and know they're going to die than not have it, because the consequences will be too great. So if you had a culture like that, then yeah, maybe war is preventable, you know, and a lot of stuff. Yeah, somebody's saying they liked how the take on the style system and trick style was so unnecessary. On that front, they think I'd like Ultra Kill, since its style meter and trick system is necessary to actually surviving in the game. Well, that's a little different. I mean, I haven't played it, but I'm assuming, yeah, it's like there's been a couple games like that. Bulletstorm had something like that, where it's incentivizing you to have more style with it. And was it? It's not exactly the same thing, but was it like bullets per minute? I think was like a rhythm-based first-person shooter. I haven't played that. That's a little different because my mind's in a different place for a first-person shooter. It's more like survive, kill the enemy, try to find the most efficient way possible. So I'm not necessarily in like a style frame of mind for that. Whereas trick style, I don't even know how to explain it. It's not that I even need the most demanding stylistic game, but I love the moments where I'm just like, I'm hovering through doing a handstand on the board and then doing spins on that while I'm in this cool looking world and the music's really good. So it's just like with trick style, yeah, I didn't know how to explain it, but it's almost like everything that's coming together. It's like everything coming together for those moments, and that's what I loved about it. Yeah, I guess I didn't know how to put it in the words at the time. So it's not really like any one thing. It's just all collectively. There are moments of that I just love it. So, let's see. We're gonna say. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll move on to more questions. Okay, well, this is another one talking about death again, and it's again, I don't really like questions like these, so I'm just gonna go ahead and skip this one. I don't like taking things too dark unless it's like I like stuff that's more like potential, some unknown scenarios that maybe could have dark outcomes, but maybe not. I'm much better with that, I think. Do you think the internet has changed for the better or worse in the span of when you started using it up until recent years? And they're mentioning annoyances, sketchy practices, bloat, UI, anything you want really. Well, I guess bloat is worse, but it's kind of, there's been different phases. I mean, I'd say overall, I think it's better. I mean, but I tend to use the internet more for trying to find for information and tools and finding software I want, or just media, that sort of thing. And I mean, it's not like 100% better, but I can find a lot more now than I could, say, 20 years ago. You might have to jump through more. It might be a much less direct route where I have to find these underground resources to find exactly what I'm looking for, or use different search engines or stuff like that. But I think it's overall better. But some people use the internet for different things, and they could probably point to specific things where it could be worse. But yeah, I'm looking at the examples. The UI, it can vary. With bloat, yeah, that can be, I'd say that's generally worse now, but I'm thinking like the worst almost was like the mid to late 2000s, when it's like there was a point in time where it's almost like there was nothing you could do. Flash was going to infect, or like internet ads were going to infect your system. It was just a matter of time. It's like you could have an antivirus up and it would detect it once it got infected, or you could have ad blocker up, but then there would be some sites that it would just get through. Anyway, I remember it was just messing with me. It's at one point, like seeing like virus delivery through totally legitimate sites. It's just like I remember getting infected from Moby Games, and that's just like basically a Wikipedia for games. That's pretty, but it wasn't them. It's just that they were hosting ads, and then they didn't have full. The way it works is they're not even responsible for what ads showed up there. It's just that they would connect it to the advertiser, and then they would serve up a virus through that ad. And that was like the worst, I think, like during that time period. And then like once Flash died, and then I was able to move off Windows XP, then it got a lot better. So, yeah, I think it's maybe better now, but you have to maybe work harder for it to get what you're looking for with the internet. So, Yeah, like for example, if you use Twitter a lot, that you may have to find another place for social media soon. Well, we'll see. But yeah, there's just more on there now. And yeah, I mentioned many times I'm a big fan of the long tail, being able to find like these real specific interests. The But yeah, I'd say it's overall better, but I could see for certain areas it could be worse. Like if you're a political dissident, I could see where it could be harder in some countries, or if you're trying to get news on specific topics that are like very controversial and there's like involvement from various governments, yeah, I could see that could be a lot more difficult. But even then, there are probably other channels you can go for getting like hearing various sides of things, that sort of thing. Uh, oh yeah, somebody asking a time travel question that didn't quite seem applicable. I think they're giving me more. I think they're giving me more credit than they should for like what talking about me like with alternate timelines for what I would remember or envision from other timelines. But given their question here, I think the best response I can give to this question, because it's kind of odd and goes on a while, is you should watch a Collegehumor video, what life would really be like in the 90s, or if you could really go back to the 90s. That seems highly relevant to what they're asking here. I'll give a link to that. It's pretty funny. I may have done that once already. Let's see. Okay, if you could. Oh shoot, this is one I keep doing this. You guys got to like push this up even higher. If you could commission a video game, what would you ask for? That's one of those things where I'm probably taking it more seriously than I should. And in reality, I would probably spend like maybe weeks contemplating like exactly what I want, because I'm assuming this is like a uh, once in a lifetime shot, so I really want to make it count. So just off the cuff, and I could probably have a better answer later. I guess something more. I was liking the format in Killing Time, like that kind of Metroid-ish first-person shooter where you're unlocking new areas and they kind of distinctive from the others, and there's a whole lot of different environments. Maybe something like that, but more, yeah, I was thinking about that. That's one of the things I do like about MMOs is just the scale of it can just be huge to the degree that you very rarely see in single player games. Like I'm thinking of something like The Secret World or World of Warcraft. There are a lot of cutscenes and quests in that game, and pretty big areas. And World of Warcraft just has like enormous areas and like very really varied too. I feel like World of Warcraft doesn't really have like a satisfying single player experience for me personally, but just I like the scale of that. I was thinking that again because I saw an article recently where they were doing like this geo guessing game where they something that's been around a while is, well, they'll take like Google Street View and they'll just pick a place at random, and then you have to guess where that is. And the closer you are, the more points you get. Well, somebody did that for World of Warcraft, and it's so huge that like it could actually slow down a lot of the fans even. It's like, oh wait, where was that? Oh, I guess I was around here, but wait, was that mixed up? So the fact that it's that big and that varied, because it's not just size, because they have, I mean, World of Warcraft must have like 50 or 100 different zones with all their like kind of distinctiveness to the theme and everything. You just have everything in there. I'd like to see more of that. Maybe just more single player focused, where you could have like this wide variety and just keep going. Because even games that can be pretty huge, you don't have that same variety. I mean, whereas just with World of Warcraft, you have a lot. So yeah, I guess a really huge, high fantasy game meant for single player with a lot of variety. That'd be that'd be another good candidate. Uh, how many 9-year-olds in a row do you think you could defeat in hand-to-hand combat, assuming they were all third-degree black belts in Wing Chun Kung Fu? I don't. How many at once? Well, I don't know the specifics of Wing Chun Kung Fu. I think, but I feel like the biggest. Uh, I feel like the biggest variable that determines my answer would have to be: are they fighting dirty? So are they going for like the groin or the eyes or something like that? Or does this style of kung fu have like a honor that you don't do moves like that? If they're willing to fight dirty and they're martial arts experts, even 9 years old, I'd say I'd have to be careful. I don't think more than 2 maximum, because I mean, eyes are sensitive. Like it's if they're trying to blind me, like I mean that's or do other dirty moves that just get completely, permanently hurt a person. But however, if they have like an honor system and they're only doing stuff like punches, throws, sweeps, that sort of thing, I think I'm just trying to imagine like a 9-year-old that like knows a lot of kung fu. I mean, I think I would. My style isn't the most conventional, so I think I could kind of be wary of several traps you might have. So, like 9 years old. I think, I mean, I'm just talking here. And the other thing is, are they coordinated too? Because if they're just all fighting me one-on-one, I could maybe take significant. I think I could safely say 4. But if they're not very coordinated, maybe even more. Because if I could like really hurt one of them, that might stop one of the others or something like that. But yeah, I'm thinking like there's a classic scene in the movie Old Boy that I've heard praised on its realism, where one guy is fighting like 20 guys. And the thing is, it's not that he's the ultimate master in hand-to-hand combat. It's that the other guys are nervous about going in once they see another one of them hurt. So it's like there's this kind of standoffishness to them. So, but yeah, it's yeah, I don't know, because then I'm relying on like my raw power and not falling into like really obvious traps. Like I'm not going to do like a big swinging punch, throwing it right at them. Like I would try to be like more restrained and do like quick ones where they can't really like deflect it or get a grab or twist, that sort of thing. But who knows? I might be underestimating them. Like I mean, a lot of martial arts are designed that even people of like small stature can just completely drop somebody more powerful. So I could be overestimating them. But yeah, if they're fighting dirty, 2 max, maybe not even that. So it's that makes all. Yeah, I think there was a Seinfeld episode like that where he asked Elaine, like, okay, who would win between a fight, me or George? And she looks at him for a second and says, George. What? Why? It's like George fights dirty. Like, and yeah, it makes a difference. It really does. So, okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, I didn't know. Okay, the chat's gonna have to weigh in on this one. They're saying what movie, music album, book, and video game had the biggest impact on history? Not just as respectable media, but history in general. Well, okay, well, books probably easy. Book would be easiest. That'd probably be either the Bible or the Quran. Just through sheer influence. For movie, yeah, music, I have no idea. Like, video game, it would. It's hard to say. Video game would probably be an earlier one that just has like a rippling effect that just changes so many things. I mean, it might actually be something like Super Mario or even Tetris. Yeah, somebody's saying Super Mario or Doom. I mean, there's some runner-up candidates like The Sims was actually pretty huge. I know, but if we're trying to think of like just total impact. I mean, I remember Tetris set records for the number of copies that it sold. Somebody's saying E.T. killed the gaming industry. I think E.T. I think it wasn't E.T. specifically. It was just. It was the straw that, yeah, another expression, the straw that broke the camel's back is what it was. So, I mean, it's not like if E.T. never existed, the gaming industry wouldn't have happened back then. But, I mean, the gaming industry wouldn't have crashed. For movie, well, some candidates are Gone with the Wind and Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane like opened up a lot of new like cinematic techniques, and Gone with the Wind was like had a big influence as like a blockbuster. Yeah. With Gone with the Wind, they paid a fine to have to give you an idea of the censorship. I think I mentioned before, like at the end of the movie, he's saying, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." They had to pay a big fine to say that because he said "damn." So. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you look at it with, okay, well, like, yeah, for music, I don't know. I mean, you're just trying to think of, like, what's been the most influential in history. Okay, you know what? I hate to say it, but it's probably going to be some Christmas song for music, or Happy Birthday. That might be another one. Yeah, that's actually a relief to me living in Poland, is that they sing Happy Birthday here too, but it's a different song. So it does different notes. I don't know all of it. It's like stolach, stolach, da 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 da. So I'm just so happy it's not Happy Birthday, which I've heard a million times. So it's like, oh good, it's something different. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other movies or. Yeah, it's probably not going to be like the most fun or interesting things. It's just that these were in the right place at the right time and they had a huge impact. I'm trying to think of some others. But like ones that have like, I think you kind of want ones that have like they've either entered popular culture so that just everybody knows about them, and they've also withstood the test of time, or they led to some sort of event that is noteworthy. I mean, you might be able to make the I guess no, probably not, but maybe you might be able to make the argument of 2001 for movies, because that certainly helped give the space race a push, like in terms of like the culture, because the special effects Kubrick pulled off on that were just mind-blowing at the time, and that was before we landed on the moon, so it could have like been like on a national morale kind of movie that like led to like a real noteworthy accomplishment. I mean, that's another candidate. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other ones. I feel like if there's any answer that I don't know about, then that might invalidate it because it couldn't have been that big if I hadn't heard of it. Let's see. Somebody's saying somebody's saying Dune. Well, I mean, no, I mean Dune's not. I mean Dune's gotten a couple adaptations, but that's not on the same level. Yeah, and actually for games, another way to look at it, there's an argument that Unreal, the original, could be one of the most influential games indirectly because that was led to the creation of the Unreal Engine. And how many games use use some variant of the Unreal Engine today? It's a whole hell of a lot. I mean, it's. I mean, I don't think Unity ever had like a unifying game like that, whereas you can trace the Unreal Engine back to Unreal. But I mean, by that methodology, as somebody said, Doom or Quake might have been more influential because that spawned a whole lot of other engines past that. But Quake 2 is better than Unreal pseudocode now, Ross. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I mean, id engines were certainly very influential, but if you look at, you can trace Unreal games now back to Unreal. So, I mean, I can believe, well, in fact, I think there's no doubt that games like Doom and Quake helped inspire Unreal. But yeah, again, there's more than one way to look at like what media is the most influential. One is just what's the biggest or what people know, and the other is, well, what event this actually changed the events of history in some ways. So yeah, and somebody's mentioning Crisis. I mean, Crisis, it's noteworthy. Like Crisis, I feel like is like the most anachronistic game. Like it was just so far ahead of its time technologically. I'm not sure if there's ever been an equivalent like that since. Though if you know of candidate in terms of just raw technology, well, okay, I guess Doom was a big jump forward. I guess also, what was it? I'm drawing a blank now. I'd argue Grand Theft Auto 3, really. But maybe not. I guess there was some, just in terms of like a big open world, like in a living, breathing city. I can't think of a game that hit it on that scale before then. That was such a jump forward. Yeah, that's actually a game I've done in my head sometimes, is try to figure out what game sequels had the biggest jump forward in terms of technology. And there's some candidates, you know, like Doom 2 to Doom 3, GTA 2 to GTA 3. I think the winner, I could be wrong though, might be whatever was before Elite Dangerous because the graphics on that were rough. Because Elite is a series and Elite Dangerous is basically modern tech. But man, the original, it might not have even had VGA graphics, but you might be able to pull out a better one though. Like which game sequel has had the biggest jump forward? Okay, somebody's saying Super Metroid to Metroid Prime. No, Elite's bigger. Elite's a bigger jump. Elite Dangerous. Okay, what chat? What came before Elite Dangerous? There was more than one game, but it was a series. It was Elite. It was Elite something. Elite Squadron or something. I don't remember the names. Okay, some Sims 2 to Sims 3. Not even close in terms of technology, but maybe in AI stuff. I don't know. I've only played the first Sims. Saying GTA 4 was a killer for PC, but yeah, because it was a bad port. Yeah, that's just because it was a bad port. I mean, yeah, we're talking about some form of technology jump, I guess. So yeah, you could, for all I know, maybe there really was an AI jump between Sims 2 and 3. I don't know. Half-Life to Half-Life Alyx is, oh, no, that doesn't work because we have Half-Life 2 and the episodes in between. So that's not as big a jump. You know, we're talking about like, you go, I think it's Elite, but maybe there's another one. The Ultima 0 to Ultima 1. I'm not familiar enough with Ultima to know. Gran Turismo 3 from 2 was huge. I'm sure it was, but not as big as some of the other jumps. I mean, look at Doom 2 to Doom 3. I mean, that if we're just talking raw technology, that's probably, we had sprites. What, Gran Turismo 2, I think the cars were in 3D at least, you know? I mean, okay, so they're saying Frontier First Encounters is Elite 3. Okay. But yeah, it was a series, and I think there were others. Elite 3 equals First Encounters, all right. Fallout 2 to Fallout, okay, now that's a candidate. Fallout 2 to Fallout 3. That's a big jump. I mean, I guess you had Fallout Tactics, but you could argue that's a side game, but Fallout Tactics was basically Fallout 2 just with higher, in terms of technology. Fallout 2 with just higher resolution textures and stuff like that. Oh, but wasn't there like the bad one that I didn't play? Fallout Brotherhood? So I don't know. But yeah, but you could argue that was a side game. Or Brotherhood of Steel? Yeah, I think a lot of people said that one was bad. I haven't played it. So yeah, if you want to say that doesn't count because it wasn't like the main numbered series, then Fallout 2 to 3 is a big jump. So I say test drive to the crew. Well, no, that was just a coincidence. That I was so happy I got that shot. I wasn't even sure I would get it. It's just that I felt like I could probably find something close, and it ended up being even closer than I thought. So, where there's a church on the right, and there's a covered bridge, and there's a hill. Like, I was like, oh wow, that might be one of the shots I'm most proud of out of like all the videos I've done, because I love that. It was so close. Now that's one. Test Drive, the Test Drive Unlimited. Well, not quite though, because you had Test Drive 3, and that jump to Unlimited would be there, but there was a Test Drive game in between there. I think it was just called Test Drive. Though that was still a pretty big jump. Yeah, anytime you're moving from like software 3D to hardware, it's getting significant. So I'm saying Wasteland to Wasteland 2. Yeah, because in terms of gameplay, it's probably not that different. Yeah, that one might be competitive with Elite. But if we're just talking the raw technology and what you have for like the lighting and like the 3D hardware accelerated 3D rendering, I'm assuming, I haven't played either, but I'm assuming Wasteland 2 is like full 3D, as in these are like rendered models. And it has like semi-modern raster lighting. That one I'd have to check the dates. That one's competitive. Yeah, in terms of raw technology, because it's more obvious in Elite Dangerous, but maybe that beats it. That could beat it. Oh, okay, somebody's saying like Metal. Oh, they're saying Metal Gear 2 to Metal Gear Solid. I'm not sure. Yeah, from Metal Gear. Yeah. I think that's not as big a jump, but that one's competitive. Because Metal Gear, I forgot there was a Metal Gear 2. Not a Metal Gear Solid 2, but a Metal Gear 2. Metal Gear is basically like NES graphics. I think there were a couple ports. jumping to like state of the art PlayStation graphics, PlayStation 1. But the thing is, both Wasteland and Elite hop over like multiple generations of like 3D accelerated graphics, so it's a little different. Baldur's Gate 2 to Dragon Age. Well, that's isn't it debatable if that's a sequel or not? No, that doesn't count. If we're going strictly, if we're going by the book here, that's not a sequel because Dragon Age is its own IP. It's not part of Dungeons and Dragons, so it's technically a separate IP. So. Well, there's some other good answers, but yeah, I think okay, that's another decent answer. Bionic Commando to Bionic Commando Rearmed. Yeah, that's a big jump. Uh, I think I'm gonna declare the winners as either Wasteland or Elite, depending on whichever had the bigger time gap. It might actually be Wasteland. I'm not sure because when we're jumping from the '80s to like mid 2010s, you know, that's a healthy jump there. Yeah, because then you're talking like over 30 years. So Black and White 1 to 2 is a big jump. I thought 2 wasn't that farther ahead, but maybe it had like some features that are like way ahead. Yeah, that'd be a different argument instead of raw technology. Like, which one just like turned it upside down because it's so much more developed. You can make an argument for Fallout 3 with that one. Sort of. I mean, Fallout 2 it had a lot going for it, but 3D is another level. So I'm saying Duke Nukem Forever. Well, it's not as big a jump as some of those others, but ooh, okay. I didn't. So I'm saying, what about Kid Icarus? I don't even know. I wasn't even aware there was a modern Kid Icarus game. So yeah, that one might be in the running. Okay. Because if that came out kind of recently or past 5 years or something like that, yeah, that might, okay. Well, somebody's saying that with Wasteland and Elite, I think it's different because of the huge gap between the games. The tech is just too different at that point. But the gameplay isn't that different for either of those, is it really? Because the old school Elite, those are like software 3D in space flight sim games. And that's what Elite Dangerous is. It just looks way the hell better. And I think Wasteland 2 is like, my understanding is it's pretty true to the original's gameplay. So those really are just like enormous technology jumps, but they're still, I mean, I know what you're saying, because some games, it's like they've changed so much. You sometimes wonder, are these things even sequels? You know, it's like, well, like might have the name that it's a sequel, but it's so different from what made the original good, or like that it's like, it's basically a different game almost. I mean, I'm thinking of Dungeon Siege 3, but there are more extreme examples than that. I'm just not remembering them. Okay, somebody's saying it's more interesting to see the game with the biggest difference in relation to the smallest number of years. That's another good point. Yeah, so something like Metal Gear might be on the running for that, or I think GTA between 2 and 3 might be close. Yeah, that's an excellent question. I mean, that's an excellent metric to look at. Which, yeah, somebody's saying Prey and New Prey, totally different games. Yeah, so that'd be an interesting chart to have, like, or maybe I can make a video out of that if people wanted to do some of the legwork for me. You have different categories like best technological leap, best technological leap between sequels. Yeah, the first one would be harder because there's been a few landmark games in history, but biggest technological leap in the shortest time span. So you could, that would be a little trickier, but you can maybe have a gauge for it because say if one has 4 years versus 6 years, but the 6-year one is it's just so far ahead of the previous one, then might be different. Sounds like something Digital Foundry would do. Yeah, that'd be, or you could have just like a best gameplay leap forward between sequels. That would be more subjective, or best technological leap that's not graphics. You know, like something like with the AI and fear or something like that. Yeah, that would be interesting to kind of have like different winners for different categories. You know. No, that was an excellent point somebody made. Rather than just raw years, who did it the fastest? Who did the biggest jump the fastest? So. And then even then, for shortest amount of time, it could be like the predecessor was sort of behind the times. So you could have one that's technically the biggest jump, but then you could have one that's just across the board. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, best AI jump, or that sort of thing. Somebody saying between Age of Empires 1 and 2. Okay, I should move on in case people are getting sick of this part. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. So, and I lost my place entirely. Okay, well, I think this one got asked previously. Saying, what's your opinion on transhumanism? Well, if I'm not misunderstanding it, that's when like you're kind of becoming sort of cyborg-ish, or you have like technology that's kind of changing your abilities that like beyond what a normal human can do. I'd say it's not something we really need to worry about too much. I think what I said last time was the two examples I was thinking of are depending if you introduced technology to like infants that may be too young in age, they might not learn other key development skills. Like I think I heard of examples where kids could were like these toddlers were like really good with a tablet, but they just were having trouble with like building blocks. Like they just couldn't, they were struggling with them. So that could be a danger that, they may be missing some key things or maybe social interaction, that sort of thing, or motor skills. And the other half of it was, I think this would probably see the most benefit for people who are disabled in some way, like they're partially blind or have hearing disabilities or sensory issues, whereas this could really enhance their abilities to like have better senses. And I think there have been cases where blind people were actually, they were literally able to like see a dot or something like that with like the right kind of connections hooked up to their brain, that sort of thing. The thing is, maybe this gets better. It's more like I could see it getting a lot better, or I could see it not getting that much better at all with how much we really understand with what's happening in the brain. See, a lot of this depends on your understanding of the brain. And it's like for certain things, we can understand that things light up in certain ways, but that's not necessarily the same as like a deep understanding of it. Now that's the sort of thing where AI pattern recognition really could make breakthroughs there. But even then, its brain is so incredibly complicated that like doing something as like inserting a chip in the right spot, that might be incredibly too crude to really make too much progress in that area. So the brain's really complicated, and we still don't understand it to anywhere near the degree of some other things. This is a lot of why I'm not worried about an AI becoming conscious and taking over. And I still stand by what I said in the Robot Jobs video about we do not have to worry about an AI becoming like its own self-aware entity. You know, it can provide fantastic illusions like that and see patterns we never would. That's a long way off from consciousness, you know. Okay. Oh, someone's saying best AI jump, chess, hands down. Well, yeah, but well, maybe not, because chess probably had a lot of stepping stones with AI, didn't it? I mean, between something like Deep Blue and whatever came before it, you know, something like that. So the jump may not have. I mean, the overall leap is enormous, but the steps in between may not have been as extreme. Oh yeah, so somebody likes the episode on Helios. Yeah, it's a distinctive story. I like the backstory for Helios. It's a distinctive game. I mean, it's not the best game, but it's unique, you know. Okay, I answered this before, so I may start skipping some more questions. But yes, I have heard about the new Last Stand games. It was the performance was too. I wasn't able to hit a smooth frame rate on my computer with it, so I'll probably just wait till I upgrade eventually to play the newer Last Stand one. I'd rather just play an older game I can run smoothly, you know. Okay. Is there besides they're saying besides obvious things like asset flips, cash grab mobile games, is there a kind of game do you think has oversaturated the market as of late? Well, for my taste, I'm not the biggest battle royale fan, so I wouldn't mind more stuff that's not battle royale. I guess not really for me. I guess okay. I guess if we're gonna talk about oversaturation, I would say maybe something like I would call. I don't even know what you would call this, but I would just call it the Ubisoft template game, where you go around like you know, where you go around and take out this one area, then secure the territory, and then unlock some other area. Then there's all these. The thing is, it's hard for me to explain because I actually really do like the idea of like a sort of conquering game where you're taking territory. It's just that something about those Ubisoft games, like a lot of Assassin's Creed do this too, or other ones I'm thinking of, they just they don't have so they make something about it feel mundane, and I don't exactly know what it is. Whereas, let's say I had like a, whereas I didn't get that feeling as much as something like Red Faction Guerrilla. That was another sort of like conquering style game, and I think there's a lot of potential there, especially if you could have a whole bunch, like one of many dream game ideas I have would be something sort of like a single player planet side where you're launching this war campaign and you can be down there in the thick of it and you have to like punch through and then you've taken that territory, then it's on like a march on to the next area or something like that. I think that could be really cool. I played that one game, Carrier Command Gaia Mission, that they had some good idea. I feel like I want something like that, but just like the scope of it much bigger or just way more troops involved. And so it feels like this full kind of sci-fi battle or something like that, uh, where yeah, I feel like I feel like they crack some important aspects of that. Where in that game, it's you can use AI commands and make it strategic, or you can kind of take control of different units on the ground. And I think what you do is make it, or you could have a slider, uh, make it so that for like a balanced experience, for people who like both sides of that, uh, you make the AI not good enough to really win the campaign. So it can do some basic things, but if you want to win this campaign, you have to go down on the troop. You have to get down on the ground yourself and figure out how to maneuver around these different like defenses and like take a hill, that sort of thing. Uh, I think that could be really cool. Yeah, I kind of want a single player planet side. uh, and that's a little different than like the Ubisoft Far Cry, conquer this territory, move on to the next thing. Something about it just feels mundane the way that they do it. Whereas I think if you tweaked it the right way or gave it the right significance, or maybe made it less linear, maybe made it more linear even, uh, then that might fill in something. Something's missing from those games, despite them being technical marvels, that I'm not sure what it is. So, have you seen Eximus Seize the Frontline? No, I'll look into that. Okay, somebody's Infested Planet has a lot of these things. That's one I still need to play. Yeah, the 2D one. Ross, I don't know why I think you did Bullfrog Syndicate Wars Game Dungeons, but you didn't. Are you planning to, or do you have memories in the future? I don't know. Okay, this is gonna sound like heresy, but I actually haven't played through the originals, but I did play through the reimagining the EA did much later with the yeah that's an example of a sequel that this is a different game. Like that's a you can call that a side game. I'm cool with side games where I feel like the Syndicate sequel, a lot of people hated it, but I think that's because they were hungry. The Syndicate series has a cult following to it, and I think what it is people were hungry for a real Syndicate sequel, and they didn't get that. And instead, they got a kind of okay first-person shooter being called Syndicate and using that intellectual property. And everybody was like, where the hell is the Syndicate game? So I understand their frustration. That game by itself, I feel like it had really good atmosphere to it. That's a game I'd like to play in VR to kind of take in the environment of it. Yeah, maybe it will. I haven't checked if I can run that one on Vorpex or not. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll have to play through it. I mean, is Syndicate turn-based or real-time tactical? If it's real-time tactical, maybe I'll give it a shot. But if it's turn-based, it's just kind of a wall for me. I mean, I can play it if I really have to, but I'm not really having fun when I'm doing turn-based combat on the vast majority of games. There are few exceptions. Okay, it's real-time. Okay, cool. Maybe I'll give it a shot. That I enjoyed Fallout Tactics, so maybe I'll just have to get around to it sometime. Okay, so, and I have the music theme in my head now. From Syndicate. Yeah, Skrillex did a remix of it for the new one. It's pretty good. Yeah, that game has good music too. It's kind of a run-of-the-mill game, but it's impressive visually and it has good music. So the reimagining one. Okay. What is your way of dealing with the turmoils in the world and politics, for example, in the US? Do you talk with people about them or do you just try to ignore them? Uh, well, it's kind of neither. I mean, I feel like, uh, again, I mentioned before, my view, you're unlikely to find someone much more cynical on it than I am. I guess it's like I can look at politics probably through a different lens than maybe the average person, where I just kind of look at like, well, what are the most important issues? And I always come back to like basic stuff where it's like, okay, well, how do we like end homelessness or end hunger or not poison the water or not have war or, especially nuclear war. And, and just when you look at it through that lens, it's just like, it's so far off, like from going in that direction that it's like, yeah, you can kind of understand the disagreement on different things. And for some things, it's incredibly intense disagreement, but it's usually on like a smaller scale and doesn't affect like the entire country. So it's, well, sometimes not too high on debate topics. No, that's not it. It's that we're debating the wrong things. Like I feel like, or not not even debating the wrong things, but more like there's no room for for what I consider. Oh yeah, not collapsing the ecosystem. That's another one I think is real important. Having a sustainable economic system. That's another one. Or sustainable energy use. How do we get there? It's like all the stuff I care the most about. That never gets like a big debate. Or no, if it does, it's some fringe debate from some on YouTube that I had to hunt down. Like, Yeah, so it doesn't mean that other issues aren't important also, because politics covers everything, but it's more like, yeah, okay, what's more important? Immigration policy or not poisoning the water or not having nuclear war? It doesn't mean that the immigration policy is not important, but it's like, okay, well, this one we could be poisoning millions of people, or this one we could be killing billions of people. It's like that ratchets up in priority in my mind. So, and so much of politics is theater. Like I have faith in almost no politician, basically. So I just look at it through a different. I feel like the way I look at it is like skewed 90 degrees from like mainstream coverage. So it's let's see, because it doesn't mean other things aren't unimportant and shouldn't get time too, but it's like the scale that we're dealing with. It's like I feel like we're just sleepwalking over a cliff for what we're headed towards with modern civilization. So, oh yeah, that's something I meant to mention with the work life. This is something I'm quite interested, and I'm glad it is getting some attention. Is when people are talking about the work-life balance question, I really cannot complain because right now in the news there's talk of a possible railroad strike in the U.S. And boy, some of the stories I've heard about that, like some of them have been working 120 hours a week. It's like, my God. Like, I think, like, I've done crunches. I don't think I've done crunches on that level a solid week uninterrupted. I'm not even sure I've done that. So it's like, when you're doing that, yes, you should have been striking last month. I mean, because when you do that much work, you have nothing to lose. Like, that's how you feel psychologically. Yes, they absolutely should strike. And that and it sounds like they're having to fight their union bosses, like the actual workers, like the union bosses are kind of like colluding with the work bosses and the politicians. So it's basically the workers versus everybody else. But if they do that, that's gonna have a major impact on the economy. And then I've heard the speculation is that Congress might try to pass, or the president might try to pass. Well, not the president has passed legislation, but either through executive order from the president or law through Congress, trying to make the work mandatory, and that they could actually be thrown in jail if they don't keep working because it's considered essential or something. So in other words, we might be moving towards forced labor, like by statute. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'm very interested in that, and I'm both for the workers, and I'm in a sane world. This would lead to us dealing with us realizing that we're overextended with what we're doing in terms of labor, and how do we get away from this? So in the short term, how do we take care of the workers? And the long term, how do we transition the economy so that this sort of thing isn't necessary? Or not even necessary, it might not even be necessary now, but incentivized by business. So it's, yeah, I'm glad that's getting attention, because I feel like that affects all kinds of people, at least in the U.S., because we're talking about work conditions, and we're talking about the economy, and we're talking about like how the future of like how our supply chain works, and again, in a sane world, would raise questions about how sustainable this is. So yeah, it's. Yeah, so I'm glad that one's getting attention. I'm not optimistic how it's going to turn out, but like I certainly hope I certainly hope good comes at the end of it. That's the best way I can put it, for everyone, for everyone who's not being a complete bastard about the entire situation. Yeah, that's the best way I can put it. So. Let's see. But yeah, and the other thing is like, let's say there's so much corruption in just politics in general. Like it's just to staggering degrees. And I want to say, if you think there's not, I want to say you're probably naive, or you're maybe just not as aware of as many things go on. So, and the thing is, there's different levels of corruption too, because you can have corruption. You can have corruption from a politician, where the example I'm thinking of is like Huey Long, where he was corrupt and he was enriching himself, but he was also doing all sorts of things for the voters and the average person. So it's like, you know what? I kind of take a utilitarian perspective on that, where, okay, let's say this guy is corrupt and he is dipping where he shouldn't be, but if the good he's doing is incredible, and the bad stuff he's doing isn't really bad, like, he's not just like going around stabbing people or something, then it's like, I can kind of go with that, because if you're helping hundreds of thousands or millions of people, okay, I see some I think there's some things that are still inexcusable, but I can see some flexibility there. But it's like, we're not even close to that. It's more like there's just rank corruption and not delivering. So it's just that we're getting the worst of all of it. And that kind of colors politics, where even if you think you have good ideas and we can cooperate on, if they're never going to happen because things are too calcified or corrupt, then it's like, geez, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go from there. And that really sums up my political views on things. That when you have this kind of like self-reinforcing no-win scenario that's going to doom us in certain ways, I don't know how you deal with that. The only answer I see to that is just like micro level solutions where maybe individuals or small communities can maybe kind of come up with solutions for their level. And they can't solve bigger problems that way, but they can kind of look after themselves. But that leaves so many people falling through the cracks that I just don't even see that as a desirable course of action. But if that's all there is, then I don't know. So yeah, it's like I'm kind of lost. Like, hopefully I explained where my brain is at. Where I mean, what I want is basically a kind of as close, as realistically as we can get to utopia as we can. Yeah. You don't have to work, and we have hoverboards. Now, obviously, that's whole. We're not going to hit utopia. There's always going to be conflict about something. I mean, yeah, like I've seen some people say that, like, no, we can do it if we just have these conditions, and then people won't have. No, there's always going to be some. Say there's two men that want the same woman in a relationship, and they really want. They'll kill over it. There's a conflict right there. That could happen in utopia. I mean, it's so. There's always going to be something. But if it's not, there's a huge difference between individual conflicts over like personal clashes or values versus systemically reinforced conflicts that make things just awful, that most people may not even want, but the power dynamics are help keep pushing it back into the game. So yeah, what I want is basically a fantasy, and I know it, and I'm kind of lost as to where you go with that. Looking at how the real world is, like, yeah, if you saw the last follow-up episode I did, I had that picture I made of escapism versus reality, where I had just the brick wall for reality. That really sums up my brain on politics and things like that. So. Okay, I hadn't heard this quote. I wanted to see your utopia, but now it is more of a fruitopia. Apparently from Stephen Hawking. I'm not familiar with that one. Well, yeah. I see that's another aspect of, like, if you're trying to aim for utopia. Yeah, you're not going to hit utopia, but if you're trying to aim for it, there are objective things you can look at, and that's where I like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So one person's utopia might be another person's hell. However, things like everybody having enough to eat, everybody having clean water, everybody, having access to medicine as we have resources for, that sort of thing. That's all stuff that not literally everyone will agree on, but you're going to get over 99% of people agreeing on that. That's a good goal, and just you'll have the people who want a power trip and hold that back, but just focusing on basic needs that every single human being wants. Or no, not wants, what was it? Needs. That every single human being needs. I feel like even there can be controversy because there may not be enough resources to go around for everyone for different things, in which case we should figure out, well, how do we get to that spot? Or what's the best way to ration it? That sort of thing. I can understand that. But I feel like if there's other things that, like, oh, we should have a society that prioritizes, like, the self-actualization stuff where people should be free to have art and philosophy or something. Well, I feel like once you get into that, it gets way messier. And I feel like if we could just have basic needs for everyone met, or that being the goal, then a lot of that extra stuff, we could sort it out ourselves. Like, don't even worry. I wouldn't even worry so much about like the meaning of life stuff, but just the basic needs stuff. The bottom two rungs of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the basic needs and security, that sort of thing. I feel like that's we should aim for, and the rest of the stuff, society can figure it out itself. I don't even pretend to have the answers on that stuff, but uh, it's somebody is saying the Star Trek socialism. All we require is warp drives and replicators, and we're all gonna have utopia. See, that's just it. I don't think we even would. There was a spoof video. I think it was by Cracked, where they had kind of a Star Trek technology existence. They were on the ship, and they had replicators, and that they could produce things, but they still cost money. And it was, so even though we had infinite resources, the supply and demand, and people had to work long hours at the jobs to earn enough for the replicators. So we had infinite resources, but we had socially reinforced supply and demand rules in the start. So yeah, you get to so many variables. It's yeah, and I think there is okay. One final point on this. I think there is legitimacy to the argument that if you don't have to struggle for anything, then we become less less developed, or more soft, and don't push your boundaries, or you might even become less happy. I think there's some neuroscience showing that the happier you are, the more the more your brain chemicals try to self-correct it, and what kind of depress you more. Whereas if you're more depressed, then it can, assuming you don't have something misaligned in your head. I'm just talking about a normal person. The more antagonized or stressed you feel, the more you want to be happier, that sort of thing. Apparently there's a self-correction mechanism in the brain. So I do agree that there should be some, and just even just as a child, you need to understand there are rules, and you're going to have disappointment. A spoiled child is someone that gets everything they want, and they need to learn that there are rules and practices and behaviors they should have. So I think there is something to that. I just don't think working 2 jobs so you can have food and shelter, and you're just spending all your time working, should be the metric for that. I feel like we should take basic needs off the table for that sort of thing as much as is realistic. So, you could have something like education or status, or some people wanting fame or their own pursuits or that sort of thing. Or it doesn't mean you don't have to work, but maybe you could work less if you wanted to. There's going to be some people who just have goals nonstop. Honestly, I feel like I'm a little bit like that, but that if you just get out of their way, they're going to find plenty of stuff to do and do their own projects. Well, there's other people that they have a lot of potential, but it's not really being used. So you could have some structures to try to give them a chance to kind of develop themselves more, that sort of thing. But then there's other people who are just kind of more fragile, and they can't handle the demands that are met upon them. So I'm not talking about, what was it in the Odyssey, land of the Lotus Eaters. I'm not saying utopia looks like that, where everybody just is lounging around doing nothing, just eating food, or just eating fruit and relaxing and just doing. So, but I feel like we're an advanced species, with our intellect. We should take the ability. Life doesn't have to be barbarism, where it's law of the jungle, where whether you get to live or die and can secure your resources. We're smarter than that, at least individually, but our power systems aren't really like that. So it's, taking basic needs, taking basic survival off the table if resources allow that. And if they don't allow that, then we should have a plan to get towards that kind of society. So like I said, that would be more my utopic vision as much as I'm willing to define it. So, and that's not what politics is. So, okay, I should move on. Went way too long with that. Yeah, that's not what real world politics is. Not at all. Okay. Would you ever be interested in seeing a game structured like the original Half-Life or Doom 3, centered around being trapped in a base and spending the campaign just trying to get the hell out? You know, that's tricky. Half-Life pulled it off, and I really liked it back when my brain saw Half-Life as a normal game. Now it's just like almost like a tool. I feel like it'd be, you'd have to figure out the context where you're not like kind of getting constantly disappointed and feel like it's the whole game. I feel like you should have a little bit after you get out, or like it could even be just like a really long extended ending even. But if it's like the entire game is just trying to escape, I guess it depends on how oppressive the facility feels too. Like, yeah, I think that could be really good. It's just, it would depend on some variables. Because I was thinking, I haven't played it since I think it's strictly a co-op game, but I think there's I forgot the name of it. It's like some Prison Break game. And I could see a Prison Break, but like going through like the full process. I could see that being pretty interesting, you know, because it's not just about planning to escape. You have to like secure certain patterns, watch, A Way Out, thank you. Yeah, so prison could be good. And I was also thinking, maybe it's something where you're trying to escape the facility, but you're learning so much about like the facility and this world as you go. Like, I'm trying to think of some examples. So it's more than just an escape game. It's like you're getting the full tour. This isn't the exact same thing, but the movie, I think it was a book too, Snowpiercer, is like that, where it's kind of a contrived situation, but the idea is this mini, it's not particularly realistic, but it's an interesting concept, where like you have this like mini society, like all contained within this long train car. And they start escaping and moving from one train car to the next, and he's seeing all kinds of different things as he goes along. So if you had a facility, say you had like a sci-fi facility where it was like that, where maybe you think you know what's going on, but as you get farther out, it's like, it's just totally different. You have like layers of reality going on. I guess Portal kind of had something like that. And I'm also thinking of, I think it was a Philip K. Dick book, but the movie The Island had some of that too. But you could have multiple layers like that. And I think that could be really cool. If it was just an escape game, I could still get behind it. It's just, I feel like at some point, depending on how you do it, it could feel oppressive in a not fun way. If it was, if you keep trying and trying and trying to escape, and it's just, you're constantly getting blocked, and it's almost feeling like hopeless or contrived or something. So you'd have to be careful with that. But if you've escaped one area and gone on to the next, and then something else is new, then that could be awesome. So yeah, it has potential, but it has potential, but it could backfire also, I think. So, okay, I should probably start speeding up the question. Oh, wow, I'm only halfway down the page. Okay, I'm going to have to skip a bunch. Okay, yeah, this is a good question, though. Well, okay, this one's quick. The Deus Ex video is one of my favorites because the real conspiracy theories are eerily relevant. Can we expect another game dungeon like that? I don't have one planned. I guess if the right game presents itself, maybe. And this one, they're saying, let's see. Yeah, I mentioned game piracy and preservation. Do you think copyright is still necessary to ensure artists get paid? Or do you think there is room for other methods to do this that don't require enforced scarcity? Do you think there's cause for copyright reform or even abolition? I remember I talked a bit about this with some guy in an email. The easiest way to sum up my opinion on copyright is it's kind of like talking about how, hey, you know what? Maybe we should like get rid of the monarchy during the Middle Ages. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And I can think of all kinds of alternatives. And even though it's kind of, but you know, the monarchy is quite powerful. Like, I don't think this is something that's really going to be happening anytime soon. And that's kind of how I see copyright. It's like, there is a lot of power behind copyright. So, however, I do think just even from an intellectual standpoint in our current age, if you're talking about abolishing copyright, I feel like that's something that maybe comes after ensuring everybody's basic needs get met. Because that's the real hang up, I think. Because if you're doing something creative, like an author or a musician or something, and you depend on that to make rent or just buy groceries, well, if the copyright's abolished, maybe you're all right, or maybe you get run under. Like, I read just a week ago, somebody made this sort of free, like tech demo that where you fly around as Superman. I think they used the assets from that Matrix Unreal demo that they had, and somebody grabbed it and they put it on Steam, and it's for sale now. And they did like takedown notices against the original creator who was just making it as a free, fun demo. So that could happen to people doing creative stuff. And copyright eventually gives you some protections against that. So it's more like, I feel like you need to make sure people's basic needs get met. And then after that, you could abolish it or severely lighten up on it. It's part of the reason I'm so focused on the angle I am with dead games and trying to stop games as a service is I'm only going for the black and white cases pretty much, where people paid money. They want to keep playing the game. The company that sold it to them made that impossible. They're not collecting new money from it. They just shut it down. This is purely an abdication of responsibility for what they did. So it's, there's not much, no reasonable person is going to look at that and say, oh yeah, this is a good and fair practice. Whereas if you talk about like copyright rights for the artist and the protection levels versus that, there's loads of room for debate there. And that's, there's all kinds of valid views on that, I think. But just a reasonable person is going to say that, like, no, you paid for a game. They could have preserved it. They could have let you keep it. In fact, that's how they used to do it. And they're choosing not to. And it's not for they're just being irresponsible. So, okay, I should go through. Okay, I'm skipping more questions now just because I've been going on so long. Sorry. I'm just skipping more. If I have real good answers. So he's asking, is soup a drink? It is if you really want it to be. Yeah. I'm thinking of the quote from American McGee's Alice. The Cheshire Cat has a riddle where they say, when is a croquet mallet like a billy club? Well, I'll tell you, whenever you want it to be. So yeah, there you go. The island full of tribal cannibals question I mostly answered in a previous video chat. Maybe somebody can tell you which one that is. I think that was a reply to a Mandalore YouTube comment. Uh, this is a good question. If you had unlimited copyright-free access, yeah, that's getting kind of crazy. Copyright actually might be stifling AI development a little bit, but hopefully not too much. Okay, well, they're saying if I could have any actor from AI generated, what would I do with it? You know what? I might not even use that as much as you think. I mean, I might pick a few eccentric actors I like, but I'm someone who, if you give me a good a good performance from some no-name actor, I'll like that just as much as like a celebrity one. Unless it's like a really specialized role where they have history, so you kind of expect that actor, like a sequel or something like that. If it's just if it's just a standalone thing, I think you can have just as good talent like from regular people. So that's not something I'm really dying for with AI usage, though. I could see some other people really wanting that. And they're saying if Elon gave me Twitter tomorrow, what would you do with it? Well, first of all, would be damage control and just try to get it functioning again. And I'm hardly an expert at Twitter. So I would just try to get it functioning, then see what the Twitter fan base, Twitter user base wants. So yeah, I would just try to get some emergency contacts figure out what we needed to shore up immediately. Try my best to hire back most of the original people and like maybe guarantee them like a year of employment or something. Because let's say there were problems with the original people and they were doing something they shouldn't have. It doesn't matter. Now it's an emergency. So you need to, whoever you can get, like maybe give them a temporary raise for like a year, and then we'll then reassess after the first year. And if they're competent, then yeah, they have a job, I guess. Actually, this is going to lead to another topic, but I've been going on so long, I better just keep going. Especially since this is one I could kind of ramble on. Yeah, if you want to ask me next time, what else was I going to say about Twitter, I can do that. Okay, I will do the monthly chats after the countdown. So even while I'm working on the movie, just nonstop, I'll still do the monthly chats because that doesn't take up too much of my time. I see this as like the bare minimum I can do. So really, it's kind of below the bare minimum, but well, no, it's the bare minimum because I'll be doing much more than the minimum on the movie. So. Did you have any interesting ideas for a new series but never went through with it because you already have Freeman's Mind and Game Dungeon? Takes a lot of time. Yes, but it's also because they would probably be animated, kind of like Civil Protection, and that takes even more work. So I am seeing more and more developments on animation with AI. So I'm going to take whatever shortcuts I can with the movie. Maybe by the end of it, it'll get easier, with the animation. Okay, this is a good question about a They Hunger prequel, but I'm going the speed round now. Oh, they're saying, what game would I want to bring back from the dead? How would I change it? Ask me again, try and get more votes next time. When I could have time to think about. Okay, I'll answer this one. If you had to write a main character's mind series for Clive Barker's Undying, what spin would you give Patrick Galloway? Well, first off, I'd be the wrong person to do it. I would want a native Irish person to do that. I would want a native Irishman to do it who knows all these expressions and sayings and like insults. I bet you could have insults that put like anything I could come up with to shame from someone who's Irish and is much more familiar with their culture and just lean into that hard. I bet it could be hilarious. Coming up with an authentic Irish burn for the comments. And just plenty of them. I would want the best trash talking Irishman I could find. Like for and just using all the authentic expressions and something like that. Yeah, that's what I would want. I would want the best trash talking Irishman I could find for Patrick Galloway, for Clive Barker's Undying. Lean into it all the way. Like, it would be great. So, let's see. So is that, out of all the Dungeons and Dragons game adaptations, which one is your favorite? I haven't played the vast majority of them because a lot of the old ones are turn-based. I still need to finish playing Planescape Torment. So I'm definitely interested in that sort of universe, but I think fans generally think like either Baldur's Gate 1 or 2 are like some of the best ones. So I imagine I doubt I would have a vastly different take than they do, or other people say Planescape Torment is, but Planescape Torment, from what I have played of it, I think it doesn't have as much. It's one of the little more out there themes from Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm totally fine with. However, I do sort of like the sort of colorful adventure aspect to sort of to your stereotypical Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And Planescape Torment feels a little bleak. So I wouldn't mind. That'd be another game. Would be great to have a cool variety too. You know, some of it's in the Forgotten Realms, others are in different planes. So you could get in somewhere in like these demonic realms. Others are like in the Feywild or something. I think there's tons of. I think it's a great IP, intellectual property. So yeah, I think that would be. I'm certainly interested in the setting. So I'd love to see more like the full spectrum of it. Okay, I'm skipping more questions. So, some of them are repeats. Someone's asking if I'd be interested in visiting a game museum. I mean, I guess I don't know. I feel like I've seen so much of games as it is. I'm kind of on my own gaming odyssey as it is. It doesn't really stop. So it's hearing. I think what I like most about games are just the full experience of it all. So hearing like the history of everything, it could be interesting, but that does less for me. Someone's asking if I drink coffee. I do not. Coffee would probably just send me into overload. I don't actually have much caffeine. Yeah, that comment on the site being run by caffeine, I think it's on the Reddit too. That was by the web person who made it. So I only have like lights amount of caffeine if I'm like really need to stay up, and that doesn't happen much now that I'm not trying to do all nighters. So it was never really pleasant. I do like chocolate, but I shouldn't have chocolate. So I really love the smell of coffee, though. In fact, I sometimes use that if there's a odor. If there's a odor I don't really like from, it's great at masking things. Like I remember at our last apartment, the refrigerator, even after completely cleaning it, it just smelled off. But we took a bowl of coffee grounds and put it in there, and it totally helped, just totally. So yeah, I love the smell of coffee, and I'd probably like it in a dessert. Though a coffee flavored dessert is probably the last thing I should be eating. So. Someone's asking if I would rather release all the IP rights of EA or Activision. I think for my taste, I'd probably do EA because they have a wider variety, though Activision's much bigger. So more people might want Blizzard Activision. Yeah, whereas how many studios have died under EA that that people would benefit if those became public domain, like the intellectual properties. Oh, somebody's saying EA has Star Wars. Okay, that might swing votes back in EA's favor. Because I'm thinking Activision, they have the Call of Duty, you have the Blizzard stuff like World of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft. I mean, I'm not even that interested in. I guess Activision had like more cooler, older stuff from what I remember. But I mean, those are all huge franchises under Activision Blizzard, but EA has a lot. So yeah. Somebody's saying EA has a graveyard full. So it's yeah. Somebody's saying they have a big ass cemetery. So yeah, it would be because I'm thinking like it isn't like one just came into my mind at random. Isn't like the Magic Carpet series? Isn't EA on that? There's so many. Yeah, Westwood. Yeah. Okay. I'm skipping more questions. Sorry. I think we had a good chat on a lot of stuff though. Do you prefer if arcade-style racing games have power-ups? I actually don't, but I could be convinced. If they're a lot of fun, I could be convinced. I think if it's more like a casual competitive thing, like a Mario Kart style, then yeah, that helps. But and there might be some I'm forgetting, but I kind of prefer just the racing more. And I don't mind dirty racing though. I like being able to ram players and stuff like that. So yeah, I enjoy that. But yeah, power ups can be good, especially if like there's a big skill difference between the players. My wife's knocking on the door. I guess I should stop soon. So okay, I'll wrap it up. Yeah, I've been going on a while. I want to eat too. Okay, speed round with more questions. There were a lot this time. So he's asking about AI assisting workflow. I'm sure it could. I can think of a few petty examples, but volume balancing would have been my number one, but I've been getting solid help from Grim Cookie. This is how he prefers to be credited. So he's been doing a pretty good job. Though I'm sure it'd be easier on him if we had AI help. So. How do you manage to stay focused on work under stress? It's like I can suppress part of it for a while, and sometimes I can focus on the end goal. I will say number one thing for me actually, don't have sugar, or don't have things that screw up your mood. You might be amazed how big a difference it can make. Like the stress will 100% get to me if I'm on a lot more if I'm on sugar, whereas I can just kind of like maintain like this sort of like laser tunnel vision. If that's work, if there's an end objective, if I know it'll be done after this point, then I can do it. If it's just day-to-day ongoing stuff, then the way I've gotten through like hell jobs I've had in the past is to have an end goal where I know I'm going to leave this job. Excuse me, hiccups a bit. Where I know I'm going to leave this job and think about what I'd rather be doing than this, and like what sort of job I want to look for after this, or transition to, or just. And so if I have to feel like it's temporary, and if I do that, then I can kind of get through like a longer period, maybe a few months. But I mean, that's if it's awful, you know. If it's just, if you know the stress is going to end. Hey, another thing or you say stay focused. I guess you can remove distractions. I guess that's one thing. I usually have enough willpower to do that. Or well, not necessarily remove them, but if you don't, remove as many distractions as you can. Or say part of what you have to do is online. you could do whatever you could that's like offline and then just go on for just that time period. And don't let yourself do something that's like a diversion that'll take up your time too much. Yeah, you sometimes do need breaks, but don't make your break too fun. Save your real fun stuff for after you're done with like whatever it is you're working on. So like, yeah, exercise is a pretty fair break. That's probably not too fun. Like if you're gonna do a jog or something or push-ups or like anything like that, you know. But whereas that can have a lot of benefits for helping your brain focus, or at least for me. Or if you feel like you have to do a game, or yeah, like let's say you want to watch something short as a break, don't watch a real fun video. Watch a boring documentary that you've been meaning to learn more about. Or remember in Game Dungeon when I said like The Chosen, that would be a great game to play if you need to take a break, because you'll play that a little bit and then think like, yeah, maybe I should get back to work. I don't know. So, yeah, so don't make your breaks too fun. Don't make your breaks too fun. Yeah, that's the other advice I would give. Uh, yeah, that's going, okay. So he's asking where I got my Warhammer lore from. I got a lot of it. A friend of mine was doing like a Warhammer RPG and he let me borrow his books. And I read through a lot of it. I've read snippets and stuff online. You're if you're a Warhammer fanatic and you want to give me like a primer's course, like where I should go. I mean, I know a lot of basics, especially more about 40K. If you want to recommend some stuff that like are very interesting reads, you can feel free to email me on that. With Warhammer 40K, the stuff I liked the most was just the wild variety in all the planets, like and all the different worlds. There's like no limit to like interesting weird stuff that happens on the different planets in the Imperium and phenomena and stuff like that. Like I couldn't get enough of that. So yeah, if you're a big Warhammer fanatic and you want to recommend some reading, like especially for like the weird anomaly stuff, yeah, I'd definitely be interested in it. Because there's aspects of it that are really mysterious in the universe. That's my favorite aspect of it. So, I mean, thematically, it's pretty cool too. I watched the new Dark Tide trailer where you see them getting ready to go into the warp. That was pretty cool. And one of the top comments was like, almost every other sci-fi series in what's just treats getting around the galaxy as a casual thing, but not in Warhammer 40K. So. Okay. Well, this is a good question. They're asking what I would do as God, playing God with making monuments and other stuff. That's a great question, but I don't have any time to think about that. So you can maybe save that. Try and get more votes for next time. Yeah, make the world a real world God game. Okay. So many questions. Okay. I'm not that familiar with Ultima. Somebody's asking about that. I said Ultima being the ultimate game in the Mabus episode because it was like a play on words. It's like, well, it sounds like the ultimate game. It's called Ultima. It was just sort of a subtle joke in there. The movie is still happening, just in case there's any doubt. Let's see. Have any thoughts on the growing popularity of AI-generated art? I have to think of... Well, it'd be similar to what I said in the Robot Jobs video, but if you want a longer explanation, just like, Yeah, for any of these, if you want a longer explanation, just try to get more votes next time. Get your friends to come in and vote. I'm fine with Jacksonian democracy. So, as far as the voting on questions. Okay, this question's kind of dark. Skipping that. I am not familiar with Boogie Wings. It's a shoot 'em up. I'll look into it. Yeah, it sounds like it might be futuristic World War II theme. I love that stuff. The stuff where like alternate timeline periods, where like Iron Harvest is like that. You have a steampunk or diesel punk World War One. I love that stuff. It's great. So yeah, I'll look into that. And I forgot the name of that other game I was gonna look into. It was the 2D RTS one, I think. Maybe it wasn't 2D. Okay, I'll answer this. They're saying, if you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what piece of advice would you give yourself? I'd be hesitant to, because I feel like my life has turned out okay. So even if you have the butterfly effect. Even if I have what I consider good advice, maybe that skews things in a way that I didn't foresee, and it screws things up for me later. Silly example, but I'm thinking of it's not time travel, but Star Trek V, when Kirk is saying he wants his pain, he needs his pain. It's like the thing about pain and mistakes is you get wisdom from it. And if you don't get that wisdom, sometimes you go unchecked and make much bigger mistakes. Maybe that's what's going on with Elon Musk right now. So it's sometimes suffering to some degree helps. Okay, I guess however, if the mistake's so bad that it would have to be better to change it, I guess that's one piece of advice I would give. It would be to the medication that ended up helping me with depression. I might have said, because that was starting right around 18, 19. So that probably would have gone better if I had done that. But I mean, I guess I could kind of cheat at things and let past me know what's going to go on with YouTube and try to just coast by with media. So I'm like, I could hit the ground running with videos when YouTube emerged and I guess I could cheat like that, give myself a head start and let myself know, yeah, it'll be okay. Just do this and this and that. But instead of having it all be uncertain the way it was. Somebody's asking if I'm worried about being pigeonholed as the Game Dungeon guy or Freeman's Mind guy. It doesn't bother me at all. There are videos I want to make, but if nobody really remembers them and everybody remembers the other stuff, that's okay. As long as I got it out and some people got to see it. That's all I care about. And it was done to how I wanted it to. Okay. Yeah, sorry, there were just too many questions this time. Okay, so I'll scroll through the remaining ones, and during the lag time, just do the @Ross Ross broadcast. You can ask me a few more. I'll try to speed round them. Sorry, I went on too long this time. And somebody was saying buy Bitcoin. Yeah, well, I mentioned before, I was halfway considering mining Bitcoin in 2009. And the thing is, I didn't really care about Bitcoin. I wanted an excuse to get a faster video card is what I wanted. So that would have been the excuse. So I could have, and during that time, you could have mining with cross-fired AMD Radeon cards would have been the best way to go. It might have even been ATI then, I'm not sure. And somebody's asking about eggs are an ingredient or a food. Same as the soup answer. Do you want? They're both. It's all about the utility. I'm just trying to check the last remaining questions before I look at the live ones. So I'm saying the newer audience may have no idea what the movie is. Well, they'll figure it out. Or they could ask around. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about confusing people if I give them an honest shot. Okay, I guess I should probably prioritize the live questions. Because I can only speed read so fast. I'm not like some people can speed read like it's nothing. Sometimes I can sort of. Like it's not impossible, but it's not, I'm not good at it. Okay, live questions. Did you get the giant print you want out of the map from Revenant from Chris? No, but I still have his email, and that's on me. I need to get that map made. Maybe I'll get some help on that. Yeah, there is a volunteer offer to help me on that. And then it's like the last video I edited, the unforeseen technical problems, and they kind of got it stuck in the water, but I'd still like to finish that. Though I guess if somebody wanted to help with that, you would need to be able to record it losslessly, and you would need, though you could have some frame rate skip, that would be okay, and you would need to be able to upload a lot of data, so you'd have space somewhere on a file locker or something. If you wanted to do that, you could help me make the Revenant map, because then you could just run through it. I could give you the saves, and then we could send your images over to the guy helping to stitch it together. We could make it more of a team effort. So yeah, if you want to do that, sure, I'll give you full credit. I'll pay to. I think I would pay to make sure you got a copy too of the map if you wanted it, because I think you would have earned it then, you know. Okay. I mean, look, yeah. Though if I got like 10 offers, I'd have to just pick somebody. So just warning you. Although that, shoot. Well, okay, we'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I realize if we had 10 different people, it could go 10 times as fast because you got different people doing different areas of the island. What would you do if the residential area happened to be taken over by Rob cultists with dynamite, sawed-off shotguns, Tommy guns, and speaking unknown language? I'd get out, just flee. I mean, there's one thing, life isn't a video game. So sometimes there's a lot of overlap, other times there's not, It's not going to be like Blood, where I'm not Caleb. Okay, well, this is the same person asking a question. Have you managed to go through games for the UI as the main... How do you manage to go through the games for the UI as the main element of the game, but it's also complete garbage? They're saying Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, for instance. I haven't played through Sid Alpha Centauri. I don't know. It can be... If the game's really good, I just deal with it, but I'm trying to think... I'm drawing a blank as an example. What mouse do you currently have? Would you recommend it? No, I wouldn't, because it's a replacement for every other mouse that's just died on me one way or another. I'm currently using this... Whoa. I'm currently using the SteelSeries... one of the Sensei ones. I don't know. I think it's an older one. I got it used because I figured, well, if it's just going to die anyway, I'm going to not pay the price. Though I did take a plunge and be an early adopter of the Hedgehog mouse, which I can say right now, I'm not going to like its thumb buttons, but I'm going to like everything else about it. I could like everything else about it. So, but I'm a freak with my mouse. Look up, you probably shouldn't take mouse advice from me. Look up on Accursed Farms, Ross's crazy mouse design. I made a whole little infographic about it. So. Or maybe I'll link to that. I'll put that in the description. For D&D, they're asking what race class I played as. I started off playing a dwarf warrior. I played a human sorcerer, and then he blew himself up, but the DM was cool. The DM liked the characters, so he brought me back. The idea was I made a deal with some fire demon, and they brought me back as a tiefling. I'm trying to think how many other... I haven't played like a whole lot of D&D. As for favorites, I didn't really have an obvious favorite. I like playing sort of boisterous characters, just kind of gung-ho ones. Yeah, kind of devil-may-care characters. So I'm willing to take risks with my RPG character. So. Have you played Brigador? Yeah, I have. It was pretty good. I don't know, I sort of lost interest in it after like 10 missions or so. But yeah, it was well done. I can't always say why some games keep my attention and others don't. I don't always consciously know. Would you recommend upgrading PCs, or is it still too expensive? It's bad. Though, okay, it depends what kind of upgrade you're doing. Video cards, your best move was upgrading back at 2020 still. And it's just a matter of how much you want to pay. I think CPUs it might not be so bad on. So it could be everything except GPUs. I haven't followed too much. GPUs are just insane right now. Like we have a situation we've never seen. So, but CPUs, it might be better. It might be better. And motherboards and hard drives and SSDs and stuff like that. So yeah, actually, and the other thing to consider is who knows when inflation's going to stop. Or not, it's probably never going to stop till collapse, but slow down. Who knows? So maybe spending it now is the right move, even if it's a little more. Because if you do it a year from now, it's way more. I have no idea. I bet there are better people on YouTube to answer that one. Okay. I have not kept up with Paul Morgan Stetler's stream just because I'm too busy. I plan to give him a full shout out in the next follow-up episode. It sounds like he is doing, if you were into 90s FMV games, like full motion video games, it sounds like he is doing more for behind the scenes stuff than anyone. Like that's what his show has grown into. Because I think he was covering other full motion video actor games or people with the producers and stuff. I was thinking, oh man, he's just stacking it up there. I'm going to give him a full shout out, but by all means, feel free to spread the word. I feel bad I haven't been able to give him sort of better marketing on this. Yeah. Conversations with Curtis. That's the, I'll give a link to it in the description when I put this up. But yeah, if you're big into like retro games and stuff like that, but by all means, spread the word. I think he's just, if you're someone who likes extras on stuff like that, he's giving you like you couldn't ask for better than what he's doing. So, okay. Dwarf, expensive PC. Okay. What's the end game for the Curse Farm forums? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to keep it running. I think you might be able to back them up if you really wanted to. I don't know. And if not, I could just post them all if it did have to die for some reason. But I don't want, as long as I'm going making videos, I plan to keep the forums going. So. How can I access alternate versions of myself and take their place? Well, that's careful what you wish for. I'm sure there's some stories on that concept. I mean, there's the Prince and the Pauper, but that's not alternate reality, but I bet there's more extreme versions. Thoughts on seasteading? I'm assuming that's living at sea, maybe on a boat. Hey, whatever works, you know? Like, home. I don't think it's easier for anyone in my generation and younger, and maybe a little older, to get a home. So yeah, whatever works, you know. If I'm not misunderstanding that, I think that'd be if you're gonna have a houseboat or something. Thoughts on PS1 style horror games? People get annoyed at their creation. Just give me options to turn off filters. Let me have anti-aliasing if I want, or like, you know, bump up the that's just give me the options. I mean, have the default whatever you want, but like, it can even be a config file. You know, I don't like film grain or just all this stuff to muddy the image. I mean, I get how it can kind of leave more to your imagination, but I don't really like all the blur and stuff like that, or aliasing. That does nothing for me in 3D games. Like, I don't like aliasing at all. If I have aliasing, I want it to be pixel art. Okay, that's it. Okay, Ches, pause. Okay, I better stop now. Went on way too long. Yeah, stuff is coming. I don't. This big side video I'm doing, can't necessarily promise it. I'll try to get it out. If I can, I'll get it out as soon as I can. But if I have to like pause it in order to make a Christmas game dungeon, then I'm gonna do that. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, see you next time. Probably mid-December, something like that. All right, see ya.